What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 5RG Chapter 121 Full Sage Body, Unlocking Immortal Eyes. Air, on the other hand, was sitting at the rail, looking in the direction of the red line. The next second, the sound of the system entered Air's mind. Ding, congratulations host, get 100 points of Sage Body progress. Ding, congratulations host, Sage Body's ability has reached the late stage. Ding, congratulations host, unlock the fairy eyes. 3 consecutive voices from the system entered Air's mind without interruption. This brought a smile to the corner of his mouth unconsciously. Is the progress of 100 points of Sage Body? This time the mission of the Holy Land Marijoy, it is a good harvest. Open System Panel. Air thought to himself. Open Properties Panel. As Air's voice fell, the Attribute Panel popped into his sight. Host. Air Abilities. Armed Color. 720. Haki. 1254 thousandths. Observation Haki. 1244 thousandths. Conqueror's Haki. 1194 thousandths. Special Ability. Sage Body, Max, Ability. Sword, Great Swordsman. Special Abilities. Sage Eyes, 06 thousandths, currently early stage, unlocked abilities. Complete Susano, Tengai Shinsei. Note. When the progress is full, other abilities of the Sage's Eye will be unlocked, and a chance for a special lottery will be obtained. 9 Tails. Tailed Beast Bomb, unlocked, Tailed Beast Transformation, unlocked, current 9 Tails form. Kurama Chakra Mode, unlocked, Kurama Mode, unlocked. 10 Tails, unlocked. Need to unlock 1 to 8 tails of tailed beasts, you can unlock 10 tails. 1 tail, unlocked. 2 tails, unlocked. 3 tails, unlocked. 4 tails, unlocked. 5 tails, unlocked. 6 tails, unlocked. 7 tails, unlocked. 8 tails, unlocked. It can be seen that the current Sage Body has reached the advanced level, that is, it has reached the full level. The fairy eyes have also been unlocked, and it is currently in the early stage. You know, the fairy eyes are from the eyes of Sage of 6 Paths and have countless pervert abilities. At present, only the 2 abilities of full body Susano and Tengai Shinsei have been unlocked. However, neither of these 2 abilities is simple. The first is the complete body Susano. This is Susano, the most perfect and the most terrifying state. Its body is as big as a mountain peak, and its combat power is so strong that it can easily split mountains and meteorites. Advertisement in the armor on the back can also transform into wings, soaring in the sky. More importantly, the complete Susano passed down by Air. It is from Otsutsuki Hagoromo, the complete Susano of Sage of 6 Paths. The horror of the power can be imagined. Not much to say about the power of Tengai Shinsei. It can summon a supergiant meteorite in the air and carry out a world-class strike on the ground. The size of the meteorite is so large that it has a huge range of thousands of meters. If it is released, it can easily sink an island. Although at the initial stage of unlocking the fairy eyes, only these 2 abilities were obtained, but Air is already very satisfied with this. After all, these 2 abilities are both extremely pervert and extremely terrifying moves. Of course, with the ability of fairy eyes to advance to a higher level. More abilities will be unlocked, and Air is looking forward to the outsider Rinne Tensai technique. This technique can resurrect the dead. When the time comes to unlock this ability, Air wants to think about resurrecting Rox in the future. However, Air didn't know what level of ability of the Immortal Eye to unlock such ninjutsu. Ding, congratulations to host, you have won X1 special lottery. When Air paid attention to the property panel, the sound of the system entered Air's mind again. Use. Air chose to use it without any hesitation. The special lottery number has never disappointed Air. The first special lottery draw draws abilities like Rasengan. For the second special draw, the Kurama Chakra Mode experience card was drawn. For the third special draw, the 6 Paths Sage Mode experience card was drawn. Now, for this 4th draw, Air is looking forward to it. Ding, congratulations host, get the ability promotion card X1. Ability promotion card? Hearing the sound of the system, Air was taken aback. Because this is the first time he has acquired such an ability. The system prompts. The ability promotion card can make the ability acquired by the host directly promoted to a level. Advertisement. The explanation of the system is very simple. The ability promotion card can be used to promote Air's Conqueror's Haki, so that it can be directly promoted to a level of 0. As for special abilities, this is not within the scope of the ability promotion card. Is it a direct promotion to an ability? Air pondered while resting his chin in his hand. This ability is also very helpful for Air. After all, in the world of pirates, the most practical and powerful force in this world is Conqueror's Haki. Today, his Conqueror's haki has reached the advanced level. But, wanting to reach the top, Air doesn't know exactly when he will get it. Because the further back you go, the slower Conqueror's haki progresses. Now, there is an ability promotion card. Air can choose one of the abilities of Conqueror's haki and directly promote it to the top level. Air carefully pondered the Conqueror's haki on the attribute panel, considering the specific ability to upgrade. If armament haki is promoted to the top, then there is no doubt that Air's attack power and defense power will be greatly improved. If observation haki is promoted to the top, then the master can briefly predict the future. As for Conqueror's haki's promotion to the top level, it will greatly increase Air's attack destructive power. In terms of power, Conqueror's entanglement is much stronger than the armed color entanglement. However, Conqueror's entanglement cannot be wrapped around the whole body. It hardens the body like haki in Wu 4.3 to defend against the enemy's attack. Air stared at the system panel and thought for a while. Final decision, promotion to Conqueror's haki, use the ability promotion card. Within moments, the special energy disappeared from Air's body. Conqueror's haki, his own spirit, momentum, and breath have also undergone tremendous changes. Ding! Congratulations on the promotion of host, Conqueror's haki has reached the top. Today, he still masters the top Conqueror's power. As the sound of the system fell, a special energy flowed through Air's body. This energy is merging completely with his body. Ding! Please host choose the ability that needs to be promoted. Today, Air feels that his spiritual power has been greatly improved. Chapter 122 A group of guys who want to run away with buckets, please order. Air? Just as Air felt the power of the top conquerors, a voice entered his ear. He closed the property panel that only he could see, and looked back to see Whitebeard standing behind him. What's the matter, Edward? Air asked suspiciously. Whitebeard rested his chin in his hand, looking serious. You guy, why do you feel a little different from just now? He kept staring at Air as he sat on the rail, so I can feel very intuitively that the breath conveyed by Air is very different from just now. However, he couldn't see the specific difference. Is there? Air spread his hands and smiled. Sure enough, promoting Conquerors to the top was the right decision. At this time, Air couldn't help thinking to himself. As we all know, Conquerors is the most special ability among Conquerors haki. He cannot be cultivated, and he can only become stronger by relying on the spiritual power of the awakened person, and his aura is enhanced. And Air's aura is not enough to cultivate Conquerors to the top. However, because of the ability to O3 promotion card, he forcibly cultivated to the top. This allowed him to change his aura and aura greatly. The change is so great that even Whitebeard can feel it intuitively. Although I don't know what happened just now, but if I'm not wrong, your strength is now stronger than before. Whitebeard said solemnly. Hearing Whitebeard's words, Golden Lion, Charlotte Linlin, who were arguing, and Kaido, who was arguing beside him. All eyes were on Air. Air UB ******* D. Golden Lion's brows were raised slightly, and he couldn't help looking at Air carefully. Although he didn't know what happened to Air, however, he could clearly feel that Air was very different from just now. The spirit conveyed is more powerful and heart palpitating. Advertisement, Mamama. Air, did the battle at the Holy Land Marijoy increase your strength again? You are such a monster. If you hadn't seen it with your own eyes, no one would have believed that a person's strength would increase so quickly. Come on, 99. Charlotte Linlin can feel that Air's strength has been significantly improved compared to before. No one would have thought that Air was only in the Holy Land Marijoy and Daros. And the Battle of the Five Elders, the strength has been improved. For the words of several people, Air just smiled lightly and did not intend to explain. In other words, he didn't know how to explain it, so he couldn't tell a few people about the system. Or, if he just made up some reasons to explain it, I believe that these people in front of him will not believe it. Air, you guy, one day, I will surpass you. Kaido stared at Air and said with a very serious expression. Kaido believes that he is still young, so he has unlimited potential. And he doesn't think that his talent is too weak. Now, he has made Air his target to chase after. In time, he will definitely catch up with Air's footsteps, and even surpass Air's strength. Gia ha ha ha. That's a confident word, Kaido, but you shouldn't be able to do it. After all, only Lousy can surpass Air. Golden Lion laughed. Golden Lion admits that his current strength is indeed not as good as Air. But Golden Lion does not think that its upper limit is lower than that of Air. He is in his prime now, and there is still unlimited potential waiting for him to explore in the future. He is very clear that in the future he wants to become a sea hegemon. Then the strongest enemy in front of him was Air. So, he must surpass Air. I don't think you can do Shiki. The only person who can become the big Poseidon in the future is me. Charlotte Linlin laughed oddly. Don't be kidding, Linlin, just because you want to surpass Air? Golden Lion crossed his arms on his chest, full of disdain. What Shiki, are you guys trying to experience my strength? Do you think I'd be afraid of you? Golden Lion snorted coldly. The words fell, and Golden Lion flew into the air using Devil Fruit's ability. And Charlotte Linlin also directly summoned Baiyun Zeus, standing on Zeus's body, and also flew into the air. The two then started a fight. In this regard, Air, Whitebeard, Kaido did not stop. Advertisement after all, it's nice to be able to watch a casual show after the battle is over. Whitebeard glanced at the Golden Lion and Charlotte Linlin, who were battling high in the sky, then sat next to Air. Handed a pot of fine wine to him, and after hesitating for a while, he said, Air, do you want Captain Rox to be world domination? You think the captain, that cadre, would want this to happen? Air took the wine from Whitebeard and smiled. Although Air once joined the Rox group, he made an agreement with the Rox. Before the Rox Corps disbanded, he had to fight for the Rox. At that time, Air agreed to this condition, precisely because, he knew very well, the Rox would never become world dominance. Because the people on the boat are all ambitious guys, naturally they will not support him to become the world hegemon. And the same Air really doesn't want Rox to become the world hegemon. Then when we hand over the eternal pointer of the Valley of God to Captain Rox, I'm afraid this ending that none of us want to see will come true. Whitebeard frowned slightly. Once Lock 720's got the ancient weapon Uranus, then he has a great probability to become the world hegemon. Because Rox are powerful weapons that can rely on ancient weapons. Forcibly ordered these cadres to work for him. People who once relied on Rox's own hard power to suppress the entire ship did not dare to act rashly. Now, the cadres on the ship have gradually grown up, and Rox can't hold back. But if the master has an ancient weapon, then the situation will be the same as when they just joined the Rox group. Rox will suppress the entire regiment's cadres with absolute strength. I don't think so. Air shook his head slightly. Whether Uranus is in the Valley of the Gods or not, Air is not yet 100% sure. However, one thing he can be sure of is that the Rox will not find ancient weapons. He will also fall in the Valley of the Gods, because this place will bring him his doomed death. Hearing his words, Whitebeard asked involuntarily, Oh, what do you think? That idiot Shiki, when he met me, leaked the news of the Valley of the Gods to the world government. If there is no accident, the world government will arrange countless strong people in the Valley of the Gods. Having found the ancient weapon, what we should consider is whether we can leave that place alive. Chapter 123 Marine's Meeting, the Most Dangerous Man. So, our purpose has been exposed? Whitebeard frowned slightly. That's right. 35. Then should this news be reported truthfully to Captain Rox? No matter what, Captain Rox's final decision was to take us to the Valley of the Gods, Air said lightly. Today's Rox, although it does have a terrifying strength, is enough to dominate the entire sea. But his strength has reached the upper limit, and it is difficult to advance one step further. And you know, Air et al. Are all growing up at this time. If it drags on for a while, then Air, Whitebeard and the others will fully grow in strength. Then, even the Rox can't suppress their group of cadres with wolf ambitions. So Rox is also very clear that the strength left to him is not too much. Taking advantage of the fact that he can still suppress the crew with hard power, he must find an opportunity to dominate the world. Even if Air told the Rox, the world government had already prepared an ambush in the Valley of the Gods. And may have recovered Uranus. Rox also have to gamble. Go bet in the Valley of the Gods, you can defeat Marine, you can defeat the world government, and you can get Uranus to dominate the world. Because this Valley of the Gods can be said to be the last chance for Rox. Makes sense. Whitebeard nodded. The next day, Naval Headquarters, Marine are numerous. Marine Mini High Level held a major meeting in the highest meeting room of Naval Headquarters. Originally, they planned to go to the highest meeting room of the Holy Land Marijoy to discuss. But, because the holy site of Marijoy was badly damaged after this battle, the highest meeting room, also in the turmoil created by this battle, was destroyed. Advertisement so, in the end Marine Marshal Brownie decided to hold the Supreme Conference at Naval Headquarters. Conference Room. Marshal Marine Brownie, Marine Admiral Kong, Marine Admiral Zhenwu, Marine Admiral Black Bat, Marine Vice Admiral, Garp, Sengoku, Zephyr, Crane all in place. According to the news from the world government, the cadres of the Rox Regiment, Air, Edward Newgate, Shiki, Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and other 5 cadres attacked the holy place Marijoy. 35 Brownie is sitting in the most central position, looked serious. Attack on the Holy Land Marijoy? Hearing his words, many high-level executives were stunned. You know, the Holy Land Marijoy is a strong dark cloud, and there are countless terrifying monsters. An attack on the Holy Land Marijoy is even more dangerous than an attack on the naval headquarters. They wondered why the Rox would attack such a dangerous place. These 5 monsters are all terrifying cadres of the Rox Regiment, but If they attack the Holy Land Marijoy, I believe they will suffer heavy losses, a high-level executive said. Air, Whitebeard, Golden Lion, Charlotte Linlin, Kaido are extremely powerful though. But the power of the world government is enough to dominate the entire sea. Even if the entire Rox group clashes with the world government, they may not be able to win. Now, just based on these 5 people, if there are no casualties, this high-level executive does not quite believe it. How is the battle, Marshal Brownie? Is this guy Air still alive? Sengoku also asked aloud. Compared to the casualties of other cadres, Sengoku is most concerned about Air. After all, the battle on Hive Island back then left a deep impression on him. His golden body of the Buddha was directly shattered by Air's blow. If this guy Air dies, the Rox group will lose a member of Admiral. Zephyr followed suit. He also desperately wanted to hear the news of Air's fall. After all, such a dangerous person, none of the Marine wants to see him alive. Unfortunately, none of the 5 cadres who attacked the holy site of Marijoy were injured and all escaped safely. Advertisement Brownie frowned slightly, and spoke out after a few seconds of silence. Although he couldn't believe such an ending, but the truth is the truth. How is this possible? No one was injured. His face changed slightly, and he said in disbelief. The powerhouse of the Holy Land Marijoy, but even more powerful than their naval headquarters. After Air and others attacked the Holy Land Marijoy, no one was injured and all escaped? What the hell happened to the Holy Land Marijoy? How could this group of monsters escape without a single one killed? Marshal Brownie? Garp couldn't help but ask. Not to mention let Air fall in the Holy Land Marijoy, but not a single cadre was killed. This is too outrageous. Backquote According to the news from the world government, the cadres of the Rox regiment attacked the holy place Marijoy in order to find the eternal pointer of the Valley of God, so they did not entangle with them too much, so they escaped. Brownie will get what he got. Information, truthfully reported. Damn, these guys are so lucky, there was no casualty in the attack on the Holy Land Marijoy. Zephyr couldn't help but curse. Air, the monster that gave us the most headaches, didn't fall in the Holy Land Marijoy. This is not good news for us, Sengoku said with a headache. But then again, they attacked the Holy Land Marijoy to get the eternal pointer of the Valley of the Gods? Kong asked suspiciously. Isn't the Valley of the Gods a holy place for the celestial dragons? They took a huge risk and attacked this place just to get the eternal pointer of the Valley of the Gods? Crane was also full of question marks at this time. Although it is said that the Rox, Zhao group is a group formed by interests. And the sacred place of celestial dragons like the Valley of God has many precious things. But, specially attacked the extremely dangerous holy site of Marijoy. Just to get the eternal pointer of the Valley of God, which makes them full of puzzlement. After all, the holy place of Marijoy is also one of the holy places of celestial dragons, with countless treasures. Since the Rox group is for profit, then it's not enough to snatch the jewelry directly at the Holy Land Marijoy. Why bother to go to the Valley of the Gods to get the eternal pointer of the Valley of the Gods? In order to obtain the ancient weapon, Uranus, they tried every means to obtain the eternal pointer of the Valley of the Gods. Brownie's eyes flickered with light, and he made a solemn judgment. What? Ancient weapon Uranus in the Valley of the Gods? Everyone was stunned when they heard this. Chapter 124 The Battle of the Valley of the Gods, please complete. They have never heard of this kind of news. Is the news true? Brownie, the world government, is still the master of the ancient weapon Uranus? Kong asked in disbelief. Yes, although I have never heard of such news as a marshal, but the news from the world government is true, otherwise. The cadres of the Rox regiment, there is no need to spend a lot of money. Zhang, go to dangerous places such as the Holy Land Marijoy and find the eternal pointer of the Valley of the Gods. World government has news of Uranus. Only the 5 elders and their true leader, knows. Brownie, who is Marine Marshal, was not qualified to know before. But now because of preparations for the Rox, the world government leaked the news to naval headquarters. In other words, the Rox group's next goal is the Valley of the Gods. Sengoku raised his chin with both hands and said with a serious look. Yes, the world government has issued an order for us Marines to prepare for the battle. The battle with the Rox regiment is inevitable, Brownie said solemnly. Although Brownie is not clear what the world government will do with the Uranus placed in the Valley of the Gods. But the meaning of the above is already obvious. That is to get the Marine ready to engage the Rox regiment. 720. If the Rox really want to go to the Valley of the Gods, then, for us, this is a great opportunity to destroy them. After all, as long as we use the power of Uranus, no matter how great they are, it will not be at all impossible against our Marine. Zhenwu Admiral said slowly. Just relying on all the main powers of their naval headquarters to fight against the entire Rox regiment, they still don't have much confidence. But, if there is an ancient weapon, Uranus will help. They think this war is going to be won, That's right, since there is Uranus in the Valley of the Gods, then we only need to use the power of this ancient weapon, not to mention the Rox Regiment, all the big pirates in the entire New World, we can destroy them one by one. Kong also echoed. The ancient weapons that can destroy the world are used by us. It seems that not only the Rox group is not far from death, including the Roger pirates of the New World, and the walled pirates will soon be destroyed. There was also a smile on the corner of Sengoku's mouth. Ancient weapons, but have the power to destroy the world. Advertisement with this tool, which pirate group can stop the marine? After listening to the words of a few people, Brownie was silent for a few seconds and shook his head slightly. Uranus probably won't work for us in this battle for the Valley of the Gods. 35. Can't it be used for us? Did the world government disagree? He Wenyan asked with some doubts. Feelings, we Marine are going to have a final battle with the entire Rox Regiment. Why even ancient weapons are not allowed to be used? That's not true, although the world government is sure that Uranus is in the Valley of the Gods, but it has not yet been found. When the 5 elders learned that there was Uranus in the Valley of the Gods, he directly ordered the strong men in the Valley of God to start searching. However, after searching for a while, I rummaged through the entire Valley of the Gods. But no clue was found at all. I haven't found it yet. What do you mean? Doesn't it say that the world government master has the ancient weapon Uranus? Could it be that this news is fake? The news may be accurate, but such a weapon may be hidden in an extremely hidden place in the Valley of the Gods, which has not been found so far, Brownie explained aloud. That is to say, in this confrontation between the Valley of the Gods and the Rox Regiment, we can only rely on ourselves, and it is very likely that we will not be able to use ancient weapons. Yes. As Brownie's words fell, the entire conference room fell into a dead silence. Originally, they thought that they could easily destroy the Rox Regiment with the help of the power of ancient weapons. But, added, in the end, Uranus, who was hidden in the Valley of the Gods, has yet to be found. They may not have access to such a tool. Best up everyone, we Marines have been recharged over the years, and we have been very different from the past. Even if we face the entire Rox Regiment, we will not be defeated. 99. Brownie slammed the table, glanced at the many high-level executives in the conference room, and said solemnly. That's right, how could our Marines be weaker than the Rox? Zhenwu Admiral said with a serious expression. Advertisement, then let's get ready to face the Rox group in the Valley of the Gods. This time. This pirate group is bound to be destroyed in the Valley of the Gods, Black Bat echoed. After a while Rox group boat. At this time, there were many pirates in the Rox group, all gathered on the deck, waiting for the return of Air and others. Captain Air, why haven't they come back yet? I don't know if Captain Air and the others can bring back the eternal pointer of the Valley of the Gods from the Holy Land Marijoy. 9. Although I also have hope for them, but the Holy Land Marijoy is extremely dangerous, and even if the eternal pointer can be brought back, there will be casualties. Yeah, the Holy Land Marijoy is the headquarters of the world government. There are countless strong people in that place, and their mission this time is not low. Many pirates on the ship were talking about it. It has been some time since Air and others left the Rox group and headed to the Holy Land Marijoy. However, the group never returned, which made them somewhat worried. Air's bastards are probably dead in the Holy Land Marijoy, John said coldly, sitting on the rail with his arms folded across his chest. Air pitted him 2 billion Baileys and 3 devil fruits. Betting against Whitebeard, Golden Lion and Charlotte Linlin cost him another 2.1 billion Baileys. This made him full of resentment towards the 4 of them. Now, guessing that these people may have died, now John is not to mention how excited he is. They haven't returned for so long, if nothing else, they have all fallen in the Holy Land Marijoy. Silver Axe also echoed. Fortunately, we didn't go to this mission, otherwise, I'm afraid it will end with them, Ochaku said with a smile on his face. At that time, I learned that after getting the eternal pointer, I could take the lead in choosing the right to treasure in the Valley of God. They are very excited, but unfortunately, the Rox only let Air and others go. This makes them resentful. Now when they guess that Air and others may be dead, there was still a wave of excitement in their hearts. Chapter 125 Careful thoughts of each crew, seeking full order. Tread, 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 while the crowd is discussing. There was a sound of footsteps, and I saw Rox walk out of the cabin and stand on the bow. Captain Rox, Air, are they not coming back for so long? Dead? 35. John came behind Rox and asked with a smile. When Rox sent cadres to find the historical text, they confiscated the life papers of all cadres. You know, when a person dies, the life paper will dissipate. Therefore, the current Rox is holding the life paper of Air and others, and he knows best whether Air and others are dead. Captain Rox, if this operation at Holy Land Marijoy fails, do we have to think about finding the eternal pointer to the Valley of the Gods elsewhere? Silver Axe also stood behind Rox and spoke up. He didn't ask if Air died. Rather, it is directly defined as death, thus failing the mission of the Holy Land Marijoy. To get the eternal pointer of the Valley of the Gods, they need to think of other ways. How about Captain Rox, personally take us to the Holy Land Marijoy to find the eternal pointer in the Valley of the Gods, Ochaku said slowly. Hearing Ochaku's words, even John and Silver Axe couldn't help but glance at him. Guys, Air et al. May have died in the Holy Land Marijoy. This is enough to show how dangerous that place is. You now ask the Rox to take us to the Holy Land Marijoy. Isn't this pushing the Rox into the fire pit? However, Silver Axe didn't say anything to John. Because they also agreed with what Ochaku said in their hearts. But, not to help Rox get the eternal pointer of the Valley of the Gods. Then get Uranus to dominate the world. They want Rox to die in the Holy Land Marijoy. In this way, the Rox group is equivalent to disbanding, and they are all free men. Rox listened to the words of a few people, turned his head slightly and stared at them lightly. Advertisement? What? Do you all think Air and the others are dead? Although I don't think so, but they haven't returned for so long, I'm afraid an accident has occurred. John shrugged and smiled. Yes, Captain Rox, if they die, it seems that we need to plan for the future, said Silver Axe. Faced with the words of the two, Rox did not speak but turned his head. He set his sights on the sea in front of him. At this time, he was really disappointed with this group of cadres. Although it is said that the reason why he formed this ship was for profit. But, when this group of cadres get enough benefits, it behaves like this. Really disappointed him, and Silver Axe, Ochaku, and John all smiled when they saw that Rox didn't respond. Since Rox didn't respond directly to them, so is it possible to think that Air and the others have all died in the Holy Land Marijoy? The Rox regiment is equivalent to a direct loss of 5 important cadres. As a result, the Rox group believes that it will be disbanded soon. And they can finally flex their muscles on the sea. However, it didn't take long for them to be happy. I saw Rox glanced at the 5 intact life papers in his hand and grinned. They are back. Back. Who's back? John, Ochaku, Silver Axe were all at a loss. But the next second, they noticed a huge white cloud at the end of the sea level. As the white clouds kept approaching, they noticed that Air and others were standing on it. Yes, it's Captain Air, they're back. It's an exaggeration, they didn't have a single casualty, they all came back alive from the Holy Land Marijoy. Ha ha ha. I knew they would come back alive. After all, they were able to return safely under the siege of countless top marines back then. 5. Many crew members on the ship also noticed Air and others on the sea. Immediately discussed excitedly. Advertisement originally delayed for so long, Air and others have not returned, which makes them somewhat worried. 0. Ask for flowers, but now seeing that Air and others have all returned safely, they unconsciously feel relieved. How is it possible that all these guys came back alive? John frowned, looking gloomy. Damn, these bastards, aren't they immortal? Going to a dangerous place like the Holy Land Marijoy, can they come back alive? Silver Axe did not ask everyone, and all died in the holy place of Marijoy. But at the very least, let the B***** D Air die in that place. But, the final result is the return of all the members he never expected. Rox stood at the bow of the boat, looking at the few people in front of him with his hands on his back, with a smile on the corner of his mouth. 0. Has the eternal pointer of the Valley of the Gods been brought back? Gia ha ha ha. Captain Rox, the eternal pointer of the Valley of God was found by me alone. Golden Lion laughed and took the eternal hand from his arms and threw it to Rox. Rox took the eternal pointer of the Valley of the Gods with a wider smile on his face, then put it away and put it in his pocket. You guys have never let me down, but why did you take so long to return for this mission? To be honest, if it weren't for the fact that Rox had Air and others' life papers in their hands, even he thought that this group of people had fallen to the Holy Land Marijoy. Therefore, after fighting for a period of time, the two of them were exhausted. However, even if their physical strength is about to be exhausted, they still have plans to decide who will win. After all, the return flight is too long, and this also led to the two people's attack going off the rails, destroying the boat and begging. Shaki and Charlotte Linlin got into a fight after leaving the Holy Land Marijoy, and when they were about to run out of energy, they destroyed the boat, so it took a lot of time. 99. Air glanced at the two and complained. Because when they were in the Holy Land Marijoy before, the two consumed a lot. Then there was a confrontation in the sky. While leaving the Holy Land Marijoy, the two quarreled about the eternal pointer. Chapter 126 Departure, in order to become the world hegemon, seeking full order. At the same time, the two also tied, and both fainted. The ship was destroyed and they could not sail back home. The Golden Lion and Charlotte Linlin were both in a coma, and they couldn't let it bring them back with the power of devil fruit. So, Air, Whitebeard, Kaido can only wait for the two to wake up. Then return to the Rox group. During this period, a lot of time was wasted. Captain Rox, we're just having a friendly chat, the Golden Lion explained aloud. He is very aware of the rules of the Rox regiment, and there can be no conflict between the main cadres. So now, he is a little worried about Rox taking advantage of the situation and punishing him. Yes, Captain Rox, this is not a conflict between us, after all. It's just to learn from each other's strength. Charlotte Linlin also explained to the 720 author. I won't pursue this conflict. You guys should have a good rest on the boat. Next, we're going to the Valley of the Gods. The Rox had long since ordered strictly that the main cadres of the Rox regiment could not clash. But this time Charlotte Linlin and Golden Lion et al. After all, he brought back the eternal pointer of the Valley of God for his life and death. He didn't intend to pursue this incident, now he just wants to hold the eternal pointer. Arrive at the Valley of the Gods and get the legendary ancient weapon Uranus to dominate the world. After leaving this sentence, Rox turned to leave. But at this time, Whitebeard suddenly stopped Rox. Captain Rox, in addition to bringing back the eternal pointer this time, there is one more important thing that needs to be reported. Whitebeard's eyes flashed and he said. What's important? What is it? Rox turned his head slightly to look at him and asked. Although we have obtained the eternal pointer of the Valley of the Gods this time, but our purpose has been exposed, and now the world government and naval headquarters probably both know our goal, which is Uranus of the Valley of the Gods, 39. Is it exposed? Hearing this, Rox frowned slightly. If their purpose is revealed, wouldn't that say, they may not be able to get Uranus in the Valley of the Gods? Advertisement and the world government is very likely to use Uranus to attack them? Yes. Whitebeard nodded. After hearing Whitebeard's affirmative words, Rox's face became even more solemn. Captain Rox, what are you going to do? Air asked with interest. If the world government doesn't know their purpose. So now the Rox must have ordered to set sail for the Valley of the Gods. But now the world government has known the purpose of their Rox group, which is for Uranus in the Valley of the Gods. If you go, you will inevitably start an unprecedented war. In this way, Air is somewhat expecting how Rox will respond. Fight or escape? After a long silence, Rox threw the eternal pointer to a helmsman and shouted. Set sail, to the Valley of the Gods, yes, Captain Rox, 35. After the helmsman gets the eternal pointer, he quickly takes the helm and goes to the Valley of God. Sure enough, Air thought to himself, however, this is exactly what Air wants. After all, this time to go to the Valley of the Gods, Marine will definitely make a lot of money to get rid of Rox. As a result, the Rox group disbanded, and he was a free man. Whether it's Marine or the world government, this time we'll wipe them all out in the Valley of the Gods. Rox glanced at the many cadres present and said with a serious expression. In fact, Rox also knew that the Battle of the Valley of the Gods was extremely dangerous. But, now he has no choice, if it continues to drag on until Air and the others all grow up. He couldn't suppress this group of people and ordered them. At that time, the Rox group will also be disbanded automatically. Instead of waiting for the Rox to disband automatically, it is better to take advantage of now, he can suppress this group of cadres. Advertisement get the last chance. Either defeat everyone in the Valley of the Gods and get Uranus to rule the world. Or fall in the Valley of the Gods. This is the final idea that Rox has come up with after pondering. Air, Shiki, Edward Newgate, Linlin, Kaido, Silver Axe, Ochaku, John, this battle in the Valley of the Gods, don't let me down. In the entire Rox regiment, the Rox valued these cadres the most. Now, he can only put his hope on this group of people. If these people, in the Valley of the Gods, help him with all their strength, then he has a high probability to get Uranus and become the world hegemon. On the contrary, if this group of people did not do their best, he would have a high probability of falling into the Valley of the Gods. Of course, Captain Rox, in the upcoming battle of the Valley of the Gods, we will definitely do our best. Golden Lion folded his hands on his chest and grinned. Mama. Captain Rox, we certainly won't let you down, Charlotte Linlin laughed mischievously. The two of them had a simple idea. If they can get Uranus at the Rox of the Valley of the Gods, then they will continue to choose to follow. If you can't get Uranus, or let them get it, then they'll just dump Rox. Shiki, Linlin, the two of you are obviously having a different idea, John snorted coldly. That's right, who doesn't know how careful you two are, Silver Axe agreed. Hey, John, Silver Axe, you too. Don't frame us. Golden Lion stared at John with a murderous intent in his eyes. John, Silver Axe, we have found the eternal pointer of the Valley of God for Captain Rox, 4.3, and naturally we are ready to work hard for Rox. You say this, are you provoking us and Captain Rox? The relationship? Charlotte Linlin said solemnly. Okay, you guys, it's hard for you on this mission, take a good rest, it won't be long before the decisive battle with the world government and naval headquarters will take place. Rox glanced at a few people and said calmly. He couldn't see that the Golden Lion, Charlotte Linlin, and the rest of the cadres were all scheming. However, he didn't want to pick it up either. After all, he still needs to use the power of this group of people in the Valley of the Gods. Yes, Captain Rox. Before leaving, Captain Rox glanced back at Air. Don't forget, our agreement, Air. Chapter 127 shocked Roger et al. Of course. 39 Air nodded. The agreement between him and the Rox is to fight for the Rox before the Rox regiment disbands. Air is a person who keeps promises, so he will naturally keep this promise. But, he is also very clear that the current Rox is just the end of the line. On the whole boat, he was the only one who could do his best for Rox. Meanwhile, on the other side, the holy land of celestial dragons, the Valley of the Gods. It can be seen that there are more than a dozen marine battleships on the shore of the Valley of God at this time. These marine warships are all top configuration of naval headquarters. Whether it is construction materials or shells, they are all top-notch. Marshal of Naval Headquarters, 3 Admiral, and the top Vice Admiral, plus countless marine elites, have all set sail from the Naval Headquarters Marine plethora to this place. In order to face the Rox Regiment in the Valley of the Gods, Naval Headquarters almost mobilized O3 nests. The troops dispatched this time are even more than the last time they encircled Air and others on Hive Island. Valley of the Gods, in a certain room. The senior management of Naval Headquarters was discussing how to deal with the Rox group. There was a knock on the door. Dong dong. 39 Brownie raised his brows slightly, looked at the position of the door, and said, "Come in." Kakaka. As the door slowly opened, several men with masks walked in. They are the strongest shields of celestial dragons, the CPO organization. So that's it, the reinforcements sent by the world government, are you? Kong glanced at a few people and said calmly, this time in order to completely wipe out the Rox group. Not only the top combat power of their naval headquarters, but also the top elites are dispatched. The world government also provided them with reinforcements. It's not just us, I believe it won't be long before we have other helpers, Darrows said lightly with his hands on his back. Who are the other helpers? Kong asked. Advertisement. We have already found out the whereabouts of the Roger Pirates and the Brindewald Pirates, and have sent people to woo them. I believe it won't be long before they will be our helpers. Marine and pirates are enemies though. But in the same way, between pirates and pirates, they are also enemies. As the largest pirate group in the New World, the Rox group is also the most terrifying pirate group as a whole. The existence of this pirate group has overwhelmed other pirate groups. Therefore, the world government believes in the plan to destroy the Rox this time. Neither the Roger Pirates nor the Brindewald Pirates will refuse. What are you kidding? We need to use the power of pirates to destroy the Rox group. Brownie stood up abruptly, slapped the table hard and shouted. The Roger Pirates and the Brindewald Pirates. It can be said to be one of the most terrible pirate groups in the New World except for the Rox group. Except for the Rox regiment, the enemy that gave them the most headaches for Marine. However, this time in order to get rid of the Rox group. Since the world government has chosen to win over these two pirate groups, Brownie is full of puzzlement and anger. Yay, these two pirates who pose a huge threat to their Marines. Now I have heard that they may join forces with them. No one can calm down with such news. Hee hee hee. Don't forget your Marines' defeat in the Battle of Hive Island. None of the Rox are simple characters. Even if we join forces, we may not be able to completely eradicate them, but if we have this when the two pirates join forces, we will definitely win, Darrows sneered. How terrifying the strength of the Rox group is. He's especially aware because he's played against Air not long ago. At that time, if not for the timely arrival of the 5 elders, he would have died in the holy land of Marijoy. And the reason why he is here now, it was he who took the initiative to ask Ying to call in the Valley of the Gods, in order to avenge the defeat at the beginning. And the reason why the 5 elders didn't go out in person to destroy the Rox group. That's because, the 5 elders only value the Rox regiment. But don't think so at all. The Rox deserve to leave the Holy Land Marijoy and take them personally. In the Battle of Hive Island, we were indeed defeated, but Air can no longer use that kind of power, so this time we alone are enough to eradicate the Rox group. Why do we need the help of pirates? Zhenwu Admiral looked gloomy and snorted coldly. A member of the CPO organization standing behind Darrows spoke up. Advertisement, don't worry, this time in the Battle of the Valley of the Gods, our world government will hide the news of the alliance with the pirates, and the final credit must be yours, Marine. You may be mistaken, what we Marine wants is not credit, but just not wanting to join forces with pirates, Kong said solemnly. Our Marines bear the name of justice. If we join forces with pirates, wouldn't it tarnish justice? Hey Bat also echoed. Although he joined Marine for a short time, he also has great justice in his heart. Therefore, he also refused to join forces with the pirates. Justice? Don't be kidding. Just in the name of justice in your heart, so you want to use a large number of troops to deal with the Rox regiment, so that you can suffer heavy casualties? Deros glanced at the many high-level executives present and said coldly. You. Hearing Deros's words, the entire conference room fell into a strange atmosphere. Indeed, they did not want to join forces with pirates. But Deros was right. If not with Marine, even if they can get rid of the Rox group in the end, they themselves must lose countless troops. New World, a certain sea area. At this time, everyone of the Roger Pirates was sitting around drinking together. The atmosphere of the Roger Pirates is still very good. Basically every once in a while, they have a party. Crash. At this moment, a newspaper delivery pigeon flew across the sky, and several reward orders fell. Rayleigh, who was drinking, glanced at the sky, and then took a few bounties in his hand. In the next second, his expression became serious, and his drinking stopped. As he kept flipping through the reward orders in his hands, the solemn expression on his face became more intense. What's the matter, Rayleigh? Jabba on the side glanced at Rayleigh and asked suspiciously. Look at this. Rayleigh handed the reward to Jabba Road. Jabba gulps down the fine wine in the bottle, and then accepts the reward. A bounty? What's so good about this thing? But the moment he got the reward, his expression froze. Shuangtong stared at the amount of the reward order with an unbelievable expression. As if not believing, the amount on the reward order is real. Chapter 128 Heir's latest bounty. What's the matter with the two of you? Whose reward order are you looking at? Seeing the expressions of the two, Roger raised his brows slightly and followed suit. This is a bounty from the Rox? 9. Yes, Jabba nodded. Heir, this guy's bounty has reached 3.5 billion Bailey? Roger stared at the amount on Heir's bounty in disbelief. You know, Heir's last bounty was only 2.5 billion Bailey. This time, it has directly increased by 1 billion Bailey. Roger had never heard of news about Heir from this sea. Why now, Heir's bounty has soared to 1 billion Bailey. I don't know what this guy Heir did, and the bounty went up by 1 billion Baileys, Jabba said in a deep voice while drinking. You know, the Roger Pirates have been in the sea for many years. With the main force of naval headquarters, the number of times of confrontation is not small. But every time, the bounty for the increase is only 1 point. They couldn't figure it out. What did Heir do to directly increase his bounty by 1 billion Bailey? The cadres of the Rox are really a group of mysterious guys. Logically speaking, if they make a difference in this sea, they will be published in the form of newspapers. 5. But the deeds of the Heir group of guys have not released news a few times, but the increase in the bounty is unbelievable. For example, the last battle of the Hive was not in the news. And they Roger Pirates. Also note that Heir's bounty has increased from 1.5 billion to 2.5 billion. This time, again, no news was released. But his bounty has risen from 2.5 billion Bailey to 3.5 billion Bailey. If there is no accident, it should be the Heir group of monsters who made a big move that shocked the entire naval headquarters and caused them huge losses. 35. That's why Marine didn't lose news about them, it just increased their bounty. Rayleigh rubbed his chin with his hand, thinking seriously. This guy Heir is really a restless monster, Roger also exclaimed. Heir is in this sea, in fact, there is not much news. But every news that comes out is enough to shock the world. Or something so earth-shattering happened that Marine didn't even dare to make the news. Not only that, the bounties of other cadres in the Rox regiment have also increased a lot. 99. Advertisement Jabba reminded Roger by handing the bounty in his hand. Roger took the reward and read it carefully. Whitebeard bounty, 4 billion Baileys. Golden Lion bounty, 3.7 billion Baileys. Charlotte Linlin's bounty, 3.4 billion Baileys. Kaido's bounty, 650 million Baileys. It can be seen that the bounties of these cadres of the Rox regiment have been greatly increased. But the biggest increase in bounty orders is undoubtedly Heir. After all, his performance in the Holy Land Marijoy was excellent. The members of the Roger Pirates were discussing the Rox group while drinking. But at this moment, there was a sound of current on the sea. Crash. 35. This slight sound of the current directly caught the attention of Roger, Rayleigh, and Jabba. They stood up and looked towards the position of the sea. I saw that a marine warship was heading towards them. It's Marine. Ready to fight. 99. Jabba's face changed slightly, and he hurriedly shouted. Although only a marine battleship appeared in their sight. But you must know that their Roger Pirates are one of the best pirates in the New World. In their opinion, Marine dared to send only one marine battleship over. Then the ship is definitely not a simple guy. Hearing Jabba's words, everyone on the boat instantly sobered up and took up their weapons to prepare to attack. And right now, On the marine battleship, several men with masks on their faces walked in the air. Boom. 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 Their footsteps trampled in the air, and they approached the Roger Pirates step by step. These guys don't seem to be Marines. Rayleigh stared at the CPO members in midair and said, Marines people wear the cloak of justice almost all the time. The group of people in front of them did not wear the cloak of justice, but masks. If I guessed correctly, these guys should be the CP organization of the world government. 99 Roger said after a few seconds of silence. Advertisement, anyone from the world government? Sure enough, the comers are not good. Fire. Jabba ordered. With Jabba's order, the numerous muzzles on Roger's ship were aimed directly at the CPO organization in midair. Wait. Seeing that he was being aimed at by the muzzle, the CPO organization in midair hurriedly said. This time, they were looking for the Roger Pirates. Use this to win them over against the Rox Pirate. They didn't expect that, as soon as they met, the Roger Pirates would directly aim their cannonballs. Emission. Jabba ignored the words of the members of the CPO organization in midair and ordered directly. Boom bang bang. A large number of gun barrels were aimed at the members of the CPO organization, and they were fired out in the next second. The members of the CPO organization in midair resisted and cut off the shells. Just when they thought it was over, Rayleigh jumped up with the blade in hand. With a sharp-edged slash, he directly sunk the members of this group of CPO organizations and directly sunk this group of people. The world government somewhat looks down on us, and only sent so many people to dare to deal with our Roger Pirates. Rayleigh put away the blade and landed on the deck from midair with disdain on his face. Why'd I always feel like they have something to say? Roger rubbed his chin with his hand and expressed his opinion. Indeed, I feel the same way. A crew member nodded in agreement. World government, as the parent agency of naval headquarters. There must be a lot of knowledge about their Roger Pirates. But, to send only this number of people, and they want to take down the Roger Pirates. This is somewhat illogical. After all, they didn't think that the world government would be so stupid. At this moment, on the marine battleship, several members of the CPO organization walked in the air, yelling and condemning. Hey, you bastards, our world government wants to discuss cooperation with you. Are you provoking our world government by doing this? Talk about cooperation? Hearing his words, Roger, Rayleigh, and Jabba were stunned for a moment. Chapter 129 Roger, the walled pirates join the battle. It can be said that the Roger Pirates have no connection with the world government. Nowadays, people who have heard about the world government want to discuss cooperation with them, but they are all puzzled. The members of the CPO organization, walking in the air, soon came to the ship of the Roger Pirates. Your world government wants to discuss cooperation with our Roger Pirates? Rayleigh stared at several people and confirmed again. Yes. Stop joking, we are pirates. 55 Jabba snorted coldly. They are the Roger Pirates, although they have nothing to do with the world government. However, they are the most vicious pirates of the New World. One of the most annoying enemies of naval headquarters. Now the world government, which is the parent organization of naval headquarters, found them to discuss cooperation with them. Their first thought was that there was a scam. It is because you are pirates that we are discussing cooperation with you. Oh, so how exactly do you want to cooperate with us? Roger asked with interest. I believe you are well aware of how huge the Rox Pirate in New World is now. The members of the CPO organization said lightly with their hands on their backs. Rox Pirate? What do you mean? Could it be that the object of your cooperation with us today is Rox Pirate? 35. Rayleigh frowned slightly and said solemnly. Yes, soon, Marine and Rox Regiment 720 will have a war in the Valley of the Gods, and we invite you to go to the Valley of the Gods and participate in this war. 99. Hearing his words, Roger, Rayleigh, and Jabba stared at each other, wondering what they were thinking. Isn't the Valley of the Gods sacred to the celestial dragons? Why did the Rox Pirate and Marine have a war there? Roger demanded. Although Roger also wanted to get rid of Rox Pirate. However, he still needs to ask clearly. After all, if the people in the world government are lying, then they will be deceived to the Valley of God. In the end, it turned out that there was no Rox group. Advertisement, and if only Marine, then they will usher in destruction. You don't need to ask too much. Do you accept our alliance and join forces with Marine in the Valley of the Gods to destroy the Rox Regiment? Are you guys taking our Roger Pirates as idiots? Without saying the specific reasons, how can we trust you? The Rox and Marine are going to fight in the Valley of the Gods, Rayleigh said coldly. Hearing Rayleigh's words, several members of the CPO organization suddenly glanced. The leading CPO member looked at the three in front of him and said solemnly. The Valley of the Gods has an ancient weapon Uranus stored by our world government, and the purpose of Rox Pirate is to obtain this ancient weapon. 39. The order of the world government's superiors is to let them do whatever it takes. Be sure to draw the Roger Pirates to participate in this Valley of the Gods war. So after consideration, they still told the news about the ancient weapons. Ancient weapon, Uranus. Hearing his words, the three Rogers were startled. This is an ancient weapon that can destroy the world, and it is actually in the Valley of the Gods? You world government, since you have such weapons, why do you need our assistance? Rayleigh asked. Since there are ancient weapons, it is not a problem to destroy the Rox group. Although Uranus is indeed in the Valley of the Gods, it was hidden in a secret place by a certain adult above, and we have not found it so far. 35. So, I ask you again, do you agree to the alliance between us to fight against the Rox Pirate? I believe you are also very clear, now the power of the Rox Pirate. How huge? Roger, Rayleigh, and Jabba glanced at each other, and then discussed in a low voice. If that's the case, then show us the way. At the same time, the walled pirates on the other side were also attracted by the world government. And Brownie Walled, without the slightest hesitation, directly agreed to the alliance of the world government. For nothing else, he just wanted to get revenge on Air in the Valley of the Gods. After all, when he was on Beehive Island, all the goods he robbed at the auction were all taken away by Air. This has kept him resentful, and now has the opportunity to destroy the entire Rox group. With more chances to kill Air, how could he refuse such an alliance? After a while, Valley of the Gods, by the coast. Advertisement, I'm really looking forward to it, this time I can finally play against the cadres of the Rox again. Garp clenched his fists and said with a smile on the corner of his mouth. Don't be careless, Garp. The scale of this war is bigger than the last Hive Island battle. All of us must be prepared to die in this war. 99. Compared to Garp's excitement, Sengoku's expression on the side was particularly solemn. After all, what they Marine will face this time is the entire Rox Pirate. Don't worry, Sengoku, this time, we Marine will definitely win a big victory. The Roger Pirates and the Walled Pirates have already received news that they have agreed to form an alliance. 99. Zephyr patted Sengoku on the shoulder. In the end, is it still necessary to use the help of pirates? Sengoku sighed helplessly. Although the alliance between our Marine and the pirates is shameful, but this can indeed greatly increase the possibility of our victory this time, as well as casualties. Crane also followed. Road. Roger Pirates and Walled Pirates, they are all famous pirates in New World. The people on these two ships are not simple roles. And Roger, Rayleigh, Jabba, Brownie Walled, these four. Everyone's strength is not inferior to the main cadres of the Rox group. With the help of this group of people, they Marine is much easier. Crane is right, it is shameful to join forces with pirates, but as long as we can reduce our casualties and the odds of winning, everything is worth it. Kong came over and took it slow. At first, he also disagreed and formed an alliance with the pirates. But once taken into account, this can reduce their casualties. Therefore, Garp, Sengoku, Zephyr, Crane and others also started a devilish training during this time. Now their strength is many times stronger than that during the Hive Island battle. So he agreed, but more importantly, the life of a soldier. In order to deal with the Rox group, we have experienced a lot of devilish training over the years. This time, we must win the entire Rox group, Garp said with confidence. Since the end of the Battle of the Hive Island, they, Marine, have felt it very deeply. After all, the name of justice is important. How scary is the Rox group? Chapter 130 Super Battle, Rox Regiment and Marine. The years when the Rox crossed the sea, die in this Valley of the Gods. Sengoku clenched his fists and said. In this war, the final winner must be our Marine, but you also need to be careful, after all, there is a possibility of death. 35 Kong warned several people. Although they have more powerhouses than the Rox group. However, the Rox group, after all, is an extremely difficult bone to crack. It is impossible to destroy such a pirate group without making sacrifices. Understood. Garp and the others nodded. While several people were discussing, a scout standing on the coast suddenly shouted. Lo! Rox Pirate is here. Hearing his words, Garp and the others looked solemnly and looked towards the end of the sea. I saw a huge battleship, like a giant sea king's, approaching the Valley of the Gods. This battleship, their Marine couldn't know better. Exactly Rox Pirate, on the other side, the Rox group boat. When Marine noticed them, everyone on the boat naturally noticed Marine in the Valley of the Gods. Gia ha ha ha. Marine really dispatched a lot of troops to deal with us. 39. Golden Lion stood in midair, looking at the densely packed figures on the Valley of the Gods and laughed loudly. A tough fight like never before is about to begin. Charlotte Linlin grinned mischievously. I hope this battle will allow me to meet a suitable opponent, Kaido said with a serious expression, carrying a mace on his shoulder. Mama. Kaido, the number of strong people in this war is much more than you think. After landing on the island, don't get too far from me, or you will die in this place. Charlotte Linlin glanced at Kaido and warned. Charlotte Linlin came to the Valley of the Gods this time. Not fighting for the rocks, for flattering world domination. And just want to see how the rocks end in the Valley of the Gods. At the same time, she also has an unusual appreciation for Kaido, a man. Of course I don't want to let it fall in this place. I see. Kaido nodded without saying anything. I believe this war in the Valley of the Gods will allow me to make a lot of progress with the immortal eyes. Air secretly said inwardly while looking at the crowd in the Valley of the Gods. Advertisement in this Valley of the Gods war, the demise of the rocks has long been a foregone conclusion. This is inevitable, however, Air has also made plans to do his best in this war. On one side is the commitment to rocks. On the other hand, it is to brush the progress of the fairy eyes. Although, now Air's sage body has reached the full level. But at present his fairy eyes are only elementary. But even if it is just a beginner, the required progress is as high as 6,000. Air was curious at this point. This unprecedented battle will allow him to brush up the progress of sage body. Gu la la la. Air, you don't want to die in this Valley of the Gods. I plan to invite you to have a good drink. 35 Whitebeard looked at Air and laughed. Originally, Whitebeard was going to have a good drink with Air after the Holy Land Marijoy had completed his mission. However, since the rocks desperately want Uranus. So when they return, they can go to the Valley of the Gods. This also prevents Whitebeard from getting Air a drink. Well, I'm definitely not going to die in this place, but, you don't want to die, Edward. 35 Air smiled. Although it is said that Whitebeard in the original book successfully left the Valley of the Gods alive. But now this world, after all, because of his existence, will inevitably trigger some butterfly effects. Therefore, in this Valley of the Gods war, except for rocks, it is mortal. Whether other people will die is also unknown, of course. How could I die in such a place? Accompanied by the boat of the Rocks Regiment, it was getting closer. The marine battleship stationed on the coast of the Valley of the Gods was also ready to attack at this time. On the marine battleship in the center, Marine Marshal Brownie stood at the bow. Then shouted, "Fire!" As his voice fell, more than a dozen marine battleships fired at the Rocks Regiment in unison. Advertisement want to sink the Rocks group directly. 0. For flowers katakana middle. Looking at the shells in midair, Rock's face showed a look of disdain. Choke. 99 I saw him suddenly pull out the supreme sword from his waist, and then jumped deep into the air. Shush. Rox swung the blade and slashed across it. The blade rubbed against the space, making a violent explosion sound. The space seemed to have been chopped off by his blade, and was slightly twisted for it. The next moment, a terrifying sword energy flew from the blade. Carrying thousands of forces, they attacked the densely packed cannonballs in the air with an unstoppable, overwhelming force. Boom. 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 35 A deafening explosion sounded in midair, and countless shells were directly chopped off by rocks, and then exploded in midair. 0. Countless black smoke lingered in the upper half of the sky, and rocks also stood at the bow again. Watching this scene, many marine elites swallowed saliva unconsciously, and said in a slight panic. Okay. So strong, is this the strength of rocks? It took only one knife to directly cut off hundreds of shells. This guy is a complete monster. Rox, as the captain of the Rocks Regiment, suppressed the cadre of the entire ship with his hard power. Even Shiki's monsters couldn't compare with them, and today, we are going to fight against such a man. 35. This can't help but make him feel a little ridiculous. Rox stood on the bow and sneered at Brownie. Cannonballs are no threat to some famous pirates. You're still here, Rox, Brownie snorted. The Valley of the Gods will be my first step to dominate the world. Everyone who stands in front of me today will die here. Rox grinned and begged. Now, Brownie is planning to use a cannonball to take the lead against them Rox Pirate. Although this group of marine elites were all determined to die, they participated in the Battle of the Valley of the Gods. Brownie, are you a fool? How could such an attack work? However, when they really faced the Rocks group, their hearts were extremely nervous. Chapter 131 The Valley of the Gods, meet Tengai Shinsei. Stop kidding Rox. The Valley of the Gods will be the burial place of your rocks. This time, in order to deal with the Rocks Regiment, their marines are not only top-notch fighting forces. He even abandoned the name of Justice and chose to join forces with the Roger Pirates and the Walled Pirates. So this time, Brownie will never believe that the rocks can leave the Valley of the Gods alive. A place of burial? Just your incompetent marines? Rox said with a look of disdain. Don't underestimate our marine, Rox, Kong yelled. At this time, Marine 3 Admiral, Kong, Zhenwu, Haibat, and the 4 top marines, Vice Admiral, Garp, Sengoku, Zephyr, and Crane all came to the central ship. Face to face with everyone from the Rocks Regiment. With your strength, do you want to take down our Rocks Regiment? July 20th. Rox indifferently glanced at the many top combat powers in front of him and said calmly. It's not just Marine, Rox. Darrows also appeared beside Brownie at this time and said lightly. Gia ha ha ha. You guy, aren't you Air's defeated general? Why did you appear here? Is it because you want to die? The Golden Lion recognized at a glance that Darrows was fighting against Air at the Battle of the Holy Land Marijoy. And the defeated man laughed unconsciously. World government, is it just sending you here? It seems that our Rox group is really despise. 33 Charlotte Linlin said indifferently. When approaching the Valley of the Gods, Charlotte Linlin was most worried about it. The 5 elders of the Holy Land Marijoy also participated in this war. How terrifying is the strength of the 5 elders, they have personally contacted and fought with them. If the 5 elders also come, their Rox Pirate will have a terrible headache. But since those terrifying characters didn't come, Charlotte Linlin was relieved a lot at this time. A defeated general. Kong and others were stunned when they heard the words of Golden Lion and Charlotte Linlin. Darrows, but the strongest shield of the world government, possesses a terrifying strength. Such a man, actually, lost to Air? Advertisement? I did lose, but today I came to take revenge on Air. Darrows didn't get annoyed when he heard the words of Golden Lion and the others, but replied slowly staring at Air. I don't have any interest in defeating opponents. Air spread his hands and said calmly. Darrows's strength is really good, but the current Air has no interest in Darrows at all. You guy. The Golden Lion and Charlotte Linlin did not let Darrows break the defense. Air's disdainful remarks made him directly break the defense and burn with anger. You are too ignorant of our Rox group, and you dare to stand in front of me. Today, I will slaughter all of you. Rox stood on the bow, exuding the terrifying aura of being the only one in the sky and the world. There is quite the aura of a husband who is a man in a man, and shocks all Marines. In addition to us, the Roger Pirates, the Walled Pirates will also participate in this war. How much do you think you have to win, Rox? Darrows asked with a sneer on the corner of his mouth. Roger Pirates, Walled Pirates. Air was slightly startled when he heard this. In the original book, the Roger Pirates participated in the Battle of the Valley of the Gods. However, Brownie Walled did not come, now, because he came into this world, the butterfly effect caused. Even men like Brownie Walled chose to participate in this unprecedented war. Gia ha ha ha. Your Marines' actions are really ridiculous, you even teamed up with pirates? Golden Lion laughed with disdain. As long as you can destroy your Rox group and join forces with the pirates, so what? Brownie snorted coldly. Yeah, as long as they can kill the Rox that make the Marines' biggest headache. Even with the infamy, Brownie thinks it's worth it. Joining with pirates, this is also in line with the disgusting justice that you Marines carry, but haven't they come yet? 5. Rox wrapped around a layer of armament haki from the blade, and Conqueror's haki grinned. He had lost the thought of continuing to talk to Marine. After all, it won't be long before the Roger Pirates and the Walled Pirates will arrive on this battlefield. Today, he must solve some enemies before the 2 pirate groups arrive on the battlefield. Otherwise, the Marine, Roger Pirates, and Walled Pirates will gather together. Advertisement encircled them. Rox Pirate, they must be overwhelmed. Come on, Rox. Brownie is not wrong at all. He directly pulled out the blade from his waist, and also wrapped his armed color and Conqueror's haki. Although the Roger Pirates and the Walled Pirates have not yet reached the battlefield. However, if the Rox wanted to go to war, they would certainly be true. Seeing the fighting between the 2 sides, it seemed as if the next moment would break out. Air suddenly spoke at this moment. Then let me have an opening ceremony, the beginning of the war. 35. Tengai Shinsei. Tengai Shinsei, it is Air's ability to unlock the fairy eyes. A huge meteorite can be summoned, which can destroy an area of 1,000 meters in an instant. It was the first time Air had unleashed such an ability since unlocking the Cage Eye. Now, for the opening ceremony of this war, he decided to make a big move directly. Dropped with Air's voice. At the beginning of the period, no one noticed any difference, but looked at Air with some doubts. I don't know why, but 4.3 suddenly said something like this. Boom. Suddenly, a huge roar came into everyone's ears, and everyone looked up. I saw high in the sky, and there was a huge meteorite that could not be seen at a glance, and was still burning. It is descending rapidly, and the goal is directly at the Valley of God. Meteor. Meteorite. It's a meteorite. Damn, this meteorite is too big. Is this Air's ability? How is it possible that his ability will not turn into a huge monster, and make himself glow with golden light to obtain a huge boosting power? How can he still master the power of controlling meteorites? Don't discuss it, run. If this meteorite falls, all of us will die. Damn it. How can this monster master so many desperate abilities? Chapter 132 Marine's top combat power joins forces, please complete order. Looking at the giant meteorite that was about to descend from high in the sky, countless marine elites suddenly panicked. Because they had not waited for the meteorite to fall, they felt a sense of oppression that approached Tianlingai. This sense of oppression caused endless fear in their hearts. Is this your ability, heir? Whitebeard stared at the meteorite that was about to descend from the sky, stunned for a moment, and then glanced at heir somewhat unexpectedly. It's been a long time since I've been with heir. But Whitebeard, it was the first time he had seen heir unleash such power. Yes. Heir nodded. After unlocking the fairy eyes, 2 abilities are obtained. It is the full Susano from Sage of Six Paths, and Tengai Shinsei. Heir, can you actually manipulate meteorites? A cold sweat broke out on Golden Lion's forehead. Looking at the giant meteorite in the sky, even the Golden Lion felt a little pressure. Mama. You guys always unleash special abilities every time a battle is approaching. Charlotte Linlin was stunned for a while, then blamed O3 with a smile. In his first battle with the Rox Pirates, heir unleashes the powers of Kurama chakra mode. The second time at the Battle of the Hive, heir used the power of the Six Paths Sage mode. And this is the third battle that is about to unfold in this Valley of the Gods. Heir once again unleashed a very special ability, manipulating giant meteorites in outer space. Ha. Nice ability, heir. You have never let me down. Rox glanced at heir and smiled. Heir has unleashed such terrifying abilities since the opening. That is to say, heir has already made plans to do his best for him in this war. This makes Rox very pleased. Heir is indeed the most talented monster in our Rox group. With heir and Captain Rox here this time, we will definitely win this war. Advertisement. Although there are many strong men on Marine's side, and the Rox Pirates and the Walled Pirates will join the battlefield soon, I believe that with Captain Heir and Rox there, we will definitely not defeated. This is our Rox regiment, one of the few full-member actions. This time it is bound to get Uranus in the Valley of the Gods, and then dominate the world. The crew members standing behind the numerous cadres immediately became excited as they watched the meteorite in the sky. The stronger heir shows, the more confident they are in winning this war. Compared to the excitement of the Rox group, the people on Marine's side looked a lot more dignified. I didn't expect heir to master this ability, Crane said solemnly. I haven't seen him release such an ability on Hive Island before. It seems that Devil Fruit's ability was developed after the Battle of Hive Island. Zephyr expressed his opinion. What terrifying devil fruit did this guy eat? Sengoku frowned and said hoarsely. Marines have thoroughly studied the Rox since their confrontation with the Rox a long time ago. Whether it is the character of the crew on board, internal disputes, devil fruit ability, and fighting style. They all studied it carefully, and it can be said that they know a lot about the people on the Rox group. But only heir, no matter how they studied it, they couldn't study it thoroughly. They don't even know what devil fruit heir eats. Because I searched through the devil fruit illustrations in the whole sea, I couldn't find a devil fruit with similar abilities to heir. The Rox group is really a tough one to crack. In the face of such a pirate group, I really can't relax for a moment, Kong said solemnly. The meteorite in the sky is estimated to be 1,000 meters long. We need to work together to destroy it. If it falls in the Valley of God, the consequences will be disastrous, 35 Brownie reminded. If such a huge meteorite really fell in the Valley of the Gods, their marine warships will be destroyed, and the area within a radius of several thousand meters in the Valley of the Gods will definitely be smashed into a big hole. No doubt countless celestial dragons will perish on the spot. Superior. Brownie ordered. Garp, Sengoku, Zephyr, Crane, Darrows, Kong, Zhenwu, Black Bat and many other top powerhouses jumped up on the boat. After covering the fist with a layer of emission haki, it collided directly with the meteorite that fell at a high speed. It is not to say that this meteorite can pose a huge threat to them. Advertisement, but they don't want this meteorite to fall, because once it falls, they must be fine. But the rest of the marine elite, and the celestial dragons on the Valley of the Gods, can't tell. Boom. There was a loud noise in the air, and many top powerhouses joined forces to release emission haki, which collided with the meteorite. A deafening muffled sound spread throughout the Valley of the Gods. In midair, a visible airwave was stirred up, sweeping all directions, sweeping a distance of kilometers away. Caw. With so many top powerhouses working together, the meteorite summoned by air seemed vulnerable. It shattered directly into countless small pieces of meteorite and fell in all directions. Boom. 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 Those 737 broken meteorite pieces fell on the marine battleship in the territory of the Valley of the Gods. A large number of marine battleships were directly damaged by this meteorite. And because the meteorite was still wrapped in flames, the marine battleship was directly set on fire. The elites on the marine battleship were struggling to resist the falling meteorites. But there are too many to resist. Therefore, they had no choice but to abandon the marine battleship and came to the shore of the Valley of the Gods. Damn, Although the meteorite was successfully destroyed and the impact was offset, the shattered meteorite still affected us. After all, none of the Marines who came here today are simple characters. Today, although more than a dozen warships have been destroyed by meteorites, at least there are not many casualties. And it will cause a lot of casualties. Not only a dozen Marine warships will be destroyed in an instant. Seeing the destruction of more than a dozen Marine battleships, his expression was extremely solemn. Brownie landed on the Valley of the Gods from mid-air. If the meteorites of thousands of meters are allowed to land directly down, compared with the meteor falling directly, this is already the best ending, said Kong on the side. All of them are Marine elites carefully selected by their Marines. Chapter 133, the beginning of the super battle. Due to the destruction of more than a dozen Marine battleships. At this time, there are countless Marine elites and the top combat power of naval headquarters. They all retreated to the shore of the Valley of God, watching the Rox group vigilantly. Rox group boat. Rox is standing on the bow at this time. Looking at more than a dozen Marine battleships that have been destroyed, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Nice job, Air. The meteorite I summoned has no effect on the outcome of this war, Captain Rox. Air spread his hands. Although it is said that he summoned a kilometer-long giant meteorite, it is very card-like. But in fact, for Marine, his meteorite didn't do much. At best, it only destroyed a dozen Marine battleships. And Marine warships, for Marine, are also dispensable. After all, the shells fired on the Marine warships did not pose any threat to the Rox regiment at all. And Air's Tengai Shinsei ability, although can release several meteorites in a row. And, one is bigger than the other, but Air is also very clear that even if the meteorite continues to be released, it is unlikely to pose any threat to Marine. At most, it's just killing some insignificant Marine elites. That's enough, Air. Rox grinned. The words fell, and Rox jumped up and landed on the shore of the Valley of the Gods, holding the supreme sword. Face off against countless top Marines. Even though he faced so many top-notch combat powers alone, there was no trace of fear on Rox's face. But full of fighting spirit, he exudes a terrifying aura all over his body, standing on the shore of the Valley of the Gods, like a god of war. One husband is a guard and 10,000 people are not open. Even the top combat powers of Marine would not dare to approach Rox for a decisive battle. Seeing that Rox has set foot on the Valley of the Gods. Air, Whitebeard, Golden Lion, Charlotte Linlin, Kaido, Silver Axe, John, Ochaku, jumped up and landed next to Rox. Advertisement. Everyone exudes the breath of ultimate terror, confronting Marine's many top combat powers. Like a world-famous painting, although Marine has countless top combat powers. But seeing the cadres of the Rox regiment also set foot on the Valley of God, they couldn't help but take a step back, and for a while, no one dared to go forward to fight. This is the Rox group. Today's Rox group has the top combat power that is the best in the entire sea. As long as the old monsters from world government don't make a move. The Rox group fighting with all their strength can sweep away any force in this sea. Why, don't you dare to go up? Rox glanced at the many top combat powers contemptuously, with an extremely arrogant look on his face. Rox, let me be your opponent, today. We'll definitely leave you in the Valley of the Gods. Brownie roared, holding the blade with endless killing intent in his eyes, confronting Rox. Ha ha ha. Then come on. The words fell. Rox took the lead and charged directly towards Brownie. As Martial Marine, Brownie would naturally not weaken his momentum at this time, and also attacked Rox. The two fought in an instant. The Rox regiment's regular crew, as well as trainees. He also quickly came to the Valley of the Gods from the boat and rushed up. The Marine elite soldiers also greeted them with weapons, and the battle between the two sides started immediately. And Garp saw that the Rox and Brownies were already fighting. Thinking that the battle between Marine and the Rox regiment had already started, he was about to go forward. But at this time, Sengoku suddenly stopped Garp. Wait a minute, Garp. Sengoku. Why are you stopping me at this time? The war has already started. Garp gave Sengoku a puzzled look, and asked in confusion. You didn't see the Rox group, only the Rox were fighting alone, but are the other cadres unmoved? Sengoku reminded with a serious look. Advertisement. Although Rox himself has already started a confrontation with Brownie. And the many crew members on the ship have also fought with the elite soldiers of their naval headquarters. However, Air, Whitebeard, Golden Lion, Charlotte Linlin, Kaido, Silver Axe, John, Ochaku were really unmoved. He stared silently at the battle that started in front of him. Don't act rashly, Garp, maybe. That group of cadres are trying to delay time, planning something. Zephyr patted him on the shoulder. If it is the cadre of the Rox regiment, there are also actions to face it. Now they Marines are afraid that they have already rushed up and started a series of melee. But the unusual behavior of the Rox group made them dare not be careless. 6. Since there is a premeditated plan, shouldn't we rush up and fight them now? Garp raised his brows slightly and expressed his opinion. Idiot. Since they have the idea of procrastinating and premeditating, then we will just follow their wishes. Don't forget, the Roger Pirates and the Walled Pirates have agreed to participate in this God's Battle Valley War. They should be on their way now. Once these two pirate groups are allowed to join this battlefield, no matter what the leaders of the Rox group plan to do, we will win, 99 Sengoku said solemnly. Although they didn't know why the Rox didn't come up to fight them. It is even more unclear what plan the cadres of the Rox regiment were delaying for. But the Rox group has the idea of stalling for time. This actually happened to go with their Marines' wishes. After all, the Roger Pirates and the Walled Pirates have not yet reached this battlefield, Zhao Haojiao. Naturally, they also had the idea of delaying until the two pirates arrived on the battlefield. Since both sides have the idea of delaying time. With their naval headquarters strength alone, Calm came to the front of the crowd and warned seriously. In that case, why not get the Roger Pirates and the Walled Pirates to arrive? Now what we have to do is to wait and see, and once the Rox cadre has an abnormal behavior, we will directly assist Brownie. It is still extremely difficult to fight head-to-head with the cadres of the entire Rox group. Then, see who can win. Once the battle is launched, there is no doubt that even if the victory can be achieved in the end, it will be a heavy loss. But if they want to delay, then we naturally don't need to act rashly, because the longer the delay, the better our chances of winning and the less troops we will lose. Procrastinate then. Chapter 134 The Rox occupying the top of the world. In the battlefield. Rox versus Brownies. One is the captain of the largest pirate group in the New World, and the other is the supreme ruler of naval headquarters, Marshal Marine. The battle between the two was extremely violent. Within a radius of 100 meters, no one dared to approach the two of them. Once they get too close, they will be directly knocked out by the airwaves generated when the two of them fight. Dang dang dang. The blades of the two were constantly colliding, and between the sword and the sword, the two had collided for countless rounds. After so many years, you haven't improved much, Brownie, Rox grinned. From the early days of their Rox pirate, the Rox played against the Brownie, and he admits that the Brownie was really strong at that time. But as he grew to his peak, in the Valley of the Gods, he once again confronted Brownie. The opponent's strength is not as amazing as he imagined. Your strength is just that, Rox, Brownie snorted coldly, looking gloomy. Although he said so, 737, but his heart was full of shock. Because Rox's strength is much stronger than he imagined. Although now he seems to be inseparable from the Rox. But in fact, only he knew how much pressure he was under when he fell to the ground. Every time the Rox attacked, he felt a sense of oppression that he had never felt before. Ha ha ha. You're a tough mouth, Brownie, as Marshal Marine. If you only have this level of strength, you won't last long in my hands, Rox laughed disdainfully. When the words fell, Rox showed more intense, swift, and murderous swordsmanship skills everywhere. Brownie could barely resist at the beginning of the period. But with the continuous attack of Rox's offensive, he gradually became a little bit hard to resist. Damn, how could I be defeated by a pirate like you? Brownie stepped back sharply, and then the blade was wrapped in a layer of armed color and Conqueror's haki. Advertisement after all, he is the top combat force of Naval Headquarters, and is the highest commander of Naval Headquarters, Marshal Marine. His Conqueror's haki has long since reached the pinnacle of practice. After the blade was wrapped around haki, Brownie's momentum climbed steadily and reached its peak in an instant. Tread. His footsteps stomped on the ground, and the hard ground was directly smashed by his trampling. His figure was as fast as a ghost, and appeared in front of Rox again. Go to hell, Rox, Brownie roared, and the blade sent endless terrifying power, slashing at Rox. This knife contains all of Brownie's knowledge of swordsmanship, as well as the full power of armament and Conqueror's haki. This knife of his is enough to break the mountain and break the sea, possessing an unstoppable terrifying power. Do you want to beat me with just such an attack, Brownie? Faced with Brownie's attack, Rox was not wrong at all, with armed colors and Conqueror's haki wrapped around the blade, and he directly greeted him. Boom! Before the blades of the two collided, a violent explosion sounded. The surrounding ground plane could not bear the shock caused by the attack of the two at all, and it broke apart inch by inch. The momentum of the two has risen to an unprecedented level in an instant. A white energy ball visible to the naked eye appeared, swelled violently, and immediately surrounded the huge Valley of the Gods. Wow! The terrifying momentum swept the entire Valley of the Gods. The entire Valley of the Gods shook for a while, as if an earthquake had occurred. Added. Nice power, but that's all. The words fell, and Rox turned his sword and slashed directly to Brownie's abdomen. Oops! Brownie's pupils contracted violently, and he quickly wrapped a layer of terrifying armament haki around him for defense. Huh. 99 Rox's blade slashed down with force, directly slashing at Brownie's abdomen. Advertisement. Even though Brownie had already prepared his defense in advance, he covered his body with a layer of armament haki. But, even so, I still can't defend against Rox's sword attack. Brownie's body flew backwards like a bullet. The footsteps slid dozens of meters on the ground, leaving a long gap before they stopped. Stay in shape. It can be seen that there is an obvious knife mark on his abdomen, which is seeping blood outward. Marshal Brownie. 35. How is it possible? How can the Rox be so strong? Even Marshal Brownie is not his opponent. Damn, after only a few moments of fighting, Marshal Brownie was injured by the Rox. The Rox is indeed a place where monsters gather, and as the captain of the Rox, his strength is truly terrifying. Many of the Marine elites who were fighting were all taken aback when they saw that Brownie was injured. After all, Brownie, who is a marshal, has long been regarded by their group as the top fighting force in naval headquarters. But it is such a top-notch combat power that fell into a disadvantage in the confrontation with Rox today. This was undoubtedly a huge blow to Marines' morale. It seems. The strength of Rox is much more terrifying than we imagined. Looking at everything in front of him, Kong said with a heavy expression. At this time, he couldn't help but secretly rejoice. Fortunately, the world government went to win over the Rox Pirates and the Walled Pirates. If only relying on the strength of their naval headquarters and the assistance of the CPO leader Daros. Today, if you want to completely win the Rox group, it is undoubtedly as difficult as the sky. No wonder such a man can become Air's captain. His strength is really terrifying. 35 Sengoku's expression changed slightly. Air, so to speak, is recognized by their naval headquarters as a very menacing monster of talent. Possesses extraordinary abilities and terrifying combat power. But even Air is a very menacing and difficult man to the Marine. They are all members of Rox, which is enough to prove how terrifying the strength of Rox is. Now, they can be considered to have witnessed with their own eyes. Rox is the top combat power of the entire sea today. Chapter 135 Zephyr's Sixth Behavior. What, are we going to help Marshal Brownie? He might not be a match for the Rox? Garp glanced at the people behind him and asked. No, now is not the time for Garp. If we take action now, the cadres of the Rox regiment will definitely not stand idly by. Before the Rox Pirates and the Walled Pirates arrived on this battlefield, we started a full-scale war with the Rox, which is very unfavorable to us. 35. Kong shook his head slightly, his expression solemn. But, Garp wanted to say something more. Zhenwu Admiral interrupted. Don't worry, Garp. Although Brownie is not as good as Rox, his strength is not as weak as you think. After all, he is the marshal of our naval headquarters. Brownie, but in this wicked old age, became the marshal of naval headquarters. This is enough to prove how terrifying his strength is. Although, on their Marine side, everyone can see that Brownie is no match for the Rox. But at the same time, they also know that it will take a lot of time for the Rox to beat the Brownies. Got it. Garp nodded. However, I can't just stand idly by. If we can find a flaw in Rox later and launch a sneak attack on it, it will be even better, Zhenwu Admiral reminded aloud. After all, they are not sure when the Rox Pirates and the Walled Pirates will arrive on this battlefield. But if so, when Brownie loses. If the two pirate groups have not reached the battlefield, it will be troublesome. Therefore, they can neither go directly to help at this juncture, as this would lead to a direct head-to-head battle with the Rox regiment. But you can't just stand idly by. They need to wait for an opportunity to sneak up on the Rox and traumatize them. If it can successfully attack the Rox, it will be wounded. Even if they fight the entire Rox regiment later, they have some chance of winning. After all, the strongest Rox have been traumatized by them, and they are really not afraid of it when they fight. The other side. Golden Lion leisurely took out a cigar from his arms, lit it, and put it in his mouth lightly. Captain Rox's strength is still amazing as always. The reason why they joined the Rox group was that they became a cadre. It's entirely because of Rox's strength, which is too amazing. Advertisement, and they also believe that the strength of Rox can lead them to make a fortune and reap rich benefits. So, this is why I joined the Rox group. Mama, isn't even Marshal Marine a match for Captain Rox? Charlotte Linlin grinned mischievously. We're going to continue to watch. Can we help Linlin? Kaido asked, carrying a mace on his shoulders, full of fighting spirit. Today's Kaido doesn't have much thought. Now, he just wants to be in this unprecedented war. A good encounter with a strong enemy, a fight. This is his idea. Not yet, Kaido. Charlotte Linlin glanced at him and shook her head slightly. Charlotte Linlin is involved in the Valley of the Gods war. Just for two things. The first thing is to let Rox die in the Valley of the Gods. The second thing is to find Uranus. Now, Marine is also waiting to see if it changes. Charlotte Linlin naturally has no reason to shoot. On the contrary, I would like to see that the Rox and Brownie are both hurt. In this way, she can confront the marine powerhouse and wait for the opportunity to find Uranus. At that time, the Rox also suffered a lot of physical exertion because of the confrontation with Brownie. In this way, Rox can also fall in this place. It's not just Charlotte Linlin who thinks so. The same goes for other cadres. They have already reaped enough benefits and want to leave the Rox group. But because the Rox strength is so terrifying, they dare not quit at all. Now, given the chance to let the Rox die in this Valley of the Gods, they will naturally stand by and watch. It's a pity for you to have recruited such a group of characters for the top combat power of conquering the world, Captain Rox. Watching the figure of Rox fighting Brownie, Air couldn't help sighing inwardly. To be honest, with the combat power of the current group of cadres on board, if they fight with all their strength, it is really possible to help Rox and become the overlord of this sea. 0. For flowers. But the problem is, the whole boat, except he's going to fight for the Rox. Advertisement. The other cadres are all 25 boys, wishing that Rox would die in this place. In the battlefield, the Rox versus Brownie's battle continues. Although Brownie was hit hard by the Rox, but, with Brownie's strength, that knife would not make him lose his mobility directly. The battle between the two had already entered a frenzied stage. In the eyes of both sides, only the other side, this is a duel that will fight to the death. Rox. Brownie roared, pouring all his strength into the blade and slashed towards Rox. Still making useless resistance, Brownie, you're no match for me at all. Rox looked disdainful, and also greeted him with a blade in hand. Your strength is indeed very strong, but this will not change the outcome of your fall here today, Brownie snorted coldly. He admits that his own strength is indeed not as good as Rox. But he doesn't think that they Marine will lose this battle of the Valley of the Gods. Really? Then let me see if you Marines have the strength to let me fall here? The words fell, and the aura of Rox rose again, showing a more terrifying aura. Rox. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from behind Rox. I saw Zephyr quickly arrive behind Rox without Rox noticing. A thick layer of armament haki wrapped around his fist. With all his strength, he smashed towards the Rox. Then it hit the ground heavily, smashing a big crater. Or, because Brownie has been holding him back, so that he can't make defensive moves at all. But Zephyr, begging, a figure of a person flew upside down very quickly. If this punch hits him on the head, no matter how strong Rox is, he will suffer a lot of trauma. There was a huge roar from the Valley of the Gods. His speed was so fast that Rox was completely unresponsive. However, the figure that flew out was not Rox. Boom. Chapter 136 Air's shot. You guy, how can you sneak attack? Air stood beside Rox, looking at the fallen Zephyr and said indifferently. He had been on the sidelines at first, because he felt that he had not yet needed to make a move. However, since Zephyr wanted a sneak attack, he naturally wouldn't stand idly by. Although, he has no feelings for Rox. But, after all, the Rox regiment sheltered his growth. And Rox also personally guided his practice, which made Air grateful. Moreover, when he first joined the ship, he had already made an agreement with Rox. Fight for him until the Rox disband. Therefore, he who kept his promise, naturally would not watch Zephyr attack the Rox. And the cadres of the Rox regiment who were fighting nearby, saw Air's figure, and immediately, 737, boiled. Captain Air. It's Captain Air. Is that what Captain Air is capable of? One punch to the top Vice Admiral Zephyr at Naval Headquarters. The most talented monster of our Rox regiment, Captain Air has already shot. We can't let Captain Air down and kill all these Marines. Kill all these Marines? Air's appearance directly detonated the fighting spirit of countless Rox pirates. Numerous pirates, as if they had been beaten by chicken blood, went crazy and launched an offensive towards Marine, and they were not afraid of death. Facing the desperate attack of this group of crazy pirates, even the Marine elites can't stop it. When Calm saw the scene in front of him, he was stunned for a moment and then cursed. Damn, it's Air. If Air hadn't suddenly intervened, Zephyr's fist would have slammed into Rox's head. While this isn't enough to bring down a monster like Rox, it can definitely traumatize Rox. They Marine, but did well at the premise of fighting the entire Rox regiment. In exchange for a chance to sneak up on Rox, but now, Air has turned it into a mess. Not only did they not attack the Rox, but instead, the current situation was formed, and the situation had to be fought. Damn it, such a good opportunity was stopped by the B*************** D Air. Zhenwu Admiral couldn't help but scolded. Advertisement, I really didn't expect that this guy Air's speed is so fast that he can react in that situation and repel Zephyr. 35 Crane frowned slightly. Everyone thought that Zephyr's punch was going to hit Rox in the head. But at that time, Air suddenly appeared and kicked Zephyr away. There's no other way, Air, the cadre of the Rox regiment, has already taken action. I believe that he can no longer delay the time, so he can only go on. Sengoku took off the cloak of justice behind him and said with a serious expression. The situation at the beginning was still one-on-one between Rox and Brownie. The members of the Rox regiment battled with their marine elites, while other top combat powers were on the sidelines. But now, with Air's shot, they feel like they can't drag the time any longer. Waiting for the Roger Pirates and the Walled Pirates to arrive at the Valley of the Gods battlefield. Go. Now that Air has taken action, the other cadres will definitely not continue to sit idly by. Now it's our turn to come on stage, Admiral the Black Bat shouted. The words fall. Kong, Zhenwu, Black Bat, Zephyr, Crane, Garp, Sengoku, Darrows and others rushed directly towards the cadres of the Rox regiment. On the other side, the cadre of the Rox regiment. Tisk, this guy Air is really decisive. Golden Lion raised his brows slightly, spit the cigar in his mouth on the ground, and said solemnly. To be honest, Golden Lion had the same idea as Marine. All hope that Zephyr can successfully attack the Rox. As a result, Rox will suffer a lot of injuries, which will increase the probability of Rox dying in the Valley of the Gods. But unfortunately, in the end, it was messed up by Air. Mamama. It's a terrifying speed. This guy's strength is definitely stronger than when he was in the Holy Land Marijoy. Charlotte Linlin stared at Air's figure with both eyes, affirming. Although, when Zephyr attacked Rox just now, she had no intention of going up to help. However, she did not expect that Air's speed was so fast. Appeared directly behind Zephyr, preventing Zephyr's sneak attack on Rox. Air, you be asterisk 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 D, one day I will surpass you. Kaido clenched his mace and said inwardly. Since seeing Air's strength, Kaido has regarded Air as his target. Of course, he is also very sure that he will be able to surpass Air in the future. After all, he is also full of confidence in his own talent and strength. Advertisement, hey, you two, what are you talking about now? Marine is already rushing over, Silver Axe snarled at the two of them. Damn, Air, this B asterisk 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 D, started a total war. John couldn't help scolding. Due to Air's shot, the top combat power of Naval Headquarters is now all ready for battle. At this time, it was rushing towards them. Gu-la-la-la. The Battle of the Valley of the Gods is about to begin. Whitebeard laughed and held the cloud cut. The words fell, and he took the lead, rushing directly towards the main group of Marines. Go on, Kaido. Charlotte Linlin glanced at Kaido. She had planned to wait until the Rox and Brownie had a lose-lose fight. But now it seems that there is no such opportunity. Marine has already attacked, and at this time, he can only get up. I see. Kaido nodded, clenched his mace, and charged toward Marine's main force with Charlotte Linlin. Golden Lion, John, Silver Axe, Ochaku, and general cadres of the Rox regiment. At this time, he also greeted the Marine main force. They go up against Marine's main force, not for the Rox. 4.3 is about finding Uranus and seeing the death of Rox in the Valley of the Gods. Otherwise, if they just run away now, this unprecedented war has officially started. And the Rox also escaped from Marine's siege, so they're in big trouble. Or, witness the fall of Rox, so, when they chose to evacuate the Valley of the Gods. There are only two possibilities. After all, the Rox hold their life paper and can easily find them. The first is that they accidentally found Uranus in the process of fighting. With the naval headquarters, all the top combat forces are on the move. All the cadres of the Rox regiment faced off. Chapter 137 The battle between Air and Zephyr center of the battlefield. Rox used all his strength to knock back the Brownie in front of him. Then he glanced at Air beside him and said, "Thank you, Air." 5. To be honest, in that case, he thought he was going to be attacked. But unexpectedly, at a critical moment, Air stood up. If you thank you, then you don't have to. Next. What are you going to do as Captain Rox? Are you going to run away? You should also know what the other officers think by now. Air glanced at Rox and asked. At the anxious moment when Rox was about to be attacked, he was the only one who moved. The other cadres just stood there and watched indifferently. Through this, Rox should also understand the inner thoughts of this group of cadres. This group of cadres didn't want to fight for him at all, but wanted him to die here. Ha ha ha. Run away. Rox burst into laughter when he heard Air's words, but then there was a look of disappointment in his eyes. Indeed, now he is very disappointed with these cadres, and it can even be said that he is completely disappointed. In the whole boat, only Air is willing to fight for him. The other people basically came to this Valley of the Gods with other ideas. Even if it's just the two of us, I'm going to try it. Fight for me, Air, kill all the enemies to dominate the world today, or die here. Rox glanced at Air, his eyes full of fighting intent. Although Rox planned, after he dominated the world, he would get rid of his heir. But today, he changed his mind. If he can really dominate the world, if heir wants to take his place, that's fine. And if you can't kill all the enemies today, you can dominate the world. Then let yourself die in this valley of the gods. Understood. Heir nodded. As expected by heir, the proud Rox would not allow himself to escape. Instead, he planned to die in the valley of the gods. That being the case, let's fight to the last moment for Rox in this valley of the gods. Rox gave heir a deep look, then rushed towards Brownie, and once again launched a decisive battle with it. At the same time, Garp has rushed to heir's eyes. I saw that he directly turned the cloak of justice behind him to one side. A strong fighting spirit bloomed from his body, and his pupils stared at heir and shouted loudly. Advertisement, heir. Garp is now a good player, although he is only a marine vice admiral. But because heir came to this world, the butterfly effect caused. This made Garp's training much harder than the original. Now his strength has reached an astonishing level. Garp? Heir stared indifferently at the man in front of him. Let me be your opponent, heir, Garp said solemnly. Come on then, choke. Heir didn't hesitate at all, and directly pulled out the big blade at his waist to kill the demon. In the face of such an enemy as Garp, even heir did not dare to be careless. Just as the battle between the two was about to break out, Zephyr, who was not far away, came over slowly and patted Garp's shoulder with a serious look. This opponent. Leave it to me, Garp, Zephyr? Garp was stunned for a moment, then asked worriedly, how is your injury, Zephyr? 95. It's just a punch, nothing serious, so let's deal with heir. Although the sneak attack on Rox just now was unsuccessful. Instead, he was kicked out by heir. But for a strong man like him, heir's punch didn't hurt him much. Heir is a tough guy, Zephyr. 35 Garp took a deep look at Zephyr, a little worried. Ha ha ha. Don't worry Garp, I'm not weak, Zephyr laughed. If that's the case, then the opponent heir will be handed over to you, 39. Garp didn't say much and made a concession. Garp would love to confront heir himself though. But I also know that the Zephyr sneak attack just now was unsuccessful. Instead, he was knocked out by heir, which made Zephyr full of fighting spirit against heir. Zephyr has now completely regarded heir as his opponent. He couldn't, at this juncture, grab Zephyr's opponent. Thank you Garp. Garp nodded, then shifted his target to find someone else to fight. Advertisement Zephyr took off the somewhat damaged cloak of justice behind him, shrugged his wrists and smiled. Although you used a knife, but that punch just now really hurts, heir. You are not my opponent, Zephyr, heir said lightly. Although, Zephyr and Garp, both are one of the 4 stars of naval headquarters. However, there is still a strength gap between the two. Garp is enough to see in front of him, Zephyr is not so good. Isn't it your opponent? I'm really underestimated, Zephyr grinned. The words fall. The terrifying armament haki was wrapped around Zephyr's fist and attacked directly at heir. Zephyr doesn't have Master Conqueror's haki, but his armament haki is especially top. After all, his nickname at naval headquarters is Black Arm Zephyr on armament haki's accomplishments. In the entire naval headquarters, it is also one of the top 737. Zephyr's feet stomped on the ground, approaching heir at breakneck speed. It's really hard. Heir slayed the demon, wrapped in a layer of armament haki and charged directly towards Zephyr. The figures of the two approached very fast and then collided. Shong. Zephyr wraps armament haki's fist, colliding with heir wrapping armament haki's blade. The terrifying aura, centered on the two of them, quickly spread out in all directions. Clang clang. The blade and the fist collided constantly, and dazzling electric sparks were constantly rubbed in the air. The attack speed of the two also increased rapidly. The offensive continued to collide, setting off layer after layer of airwaves, sweeping in all directions. Is that all you have, heir? A smile appeared on Zephyr's mouth. Although, the confrontation with heir made him clearly feel that he was at a slight disadvantage. However, heir's strength did not surprise him too much. Do you want me to be serious so I can beat you quickly, Zephyr? Heir jerked backwards. Then his arm clenched the blade, and his body kept pouring armament haki into the Demon Slayer. After the Demon Slayer absorbed enough armament haki, the blade became even sharper, exuding a frightening and terrifying aura. Chapter 138 Top Conqueror's Deterrence, Kill the Ghost. Heir clenched the Demon Slayer tightly, like a god of war, and the next moment his footsteps stomped on the ground. Like a shooting star, it moved forward at a high speed, and arrived in front of Zephyr almost in an instant. Shish. A blade that seems to be capable of tearing apart space and destroying endless vitality slammed down. The blade contained a terrifying power that was overwhelming, destroying everything, and attacked Zephyr. Facing this slash from heir, Zephyr didn't dare to be careless, and wrapped a terrifying layer of armament haki on his arms, and then pressed it on top of his head, trying to defend against Air's attack. Air's slasher slashed Zephyr's arm covered in armor. It directly moved his body back nearly 100 meters. A long chasm was left in the ground. Not far away, the Marine elite who were fighting saw this scene and shouted in panic. Zephyr Vice Admiral, damn, this guy Air is too strong, he even knocked Zephyr Vice Admiral into the air. Zephyr Vice Admiral, but one of the 4 strongest Vice Admiral in our Marine history, but in front of the monster Air, even Zephyr Vice Admiral is not enough to see. Air's presence in the Valley of the Gods War truly terrified countless Marine elites. First hit Tengai Shinsei, destroying a dozen top warships in their naval headquarters. It was Zephyr who smashed the sneak attack with another punch. Now Zephyr and Air are in a head-to-head battle, and they are still at a disadvantage. And 100 meters away, Zephyr, who was stabilizing his body, frowned and glanced at his arm. Although, because armament haki is tough enough, so the defense was not broken by Air. However, there was a conspicuous knife mark on his arm. It was only a smidge of strength away from being broken by Air. When Zephyr noticed the knife marks on his arm, Air came to Zephyr in an instant. Don't be distracted when fighting, Zephyr, crap. Hearing Air's words, it suddenly sounded in front of him. Zephyr broke out in a cold sweat. He quickly put his arms above his head again, trying to defend against Air's attack. Shoo! Air slashed again, and the terrifying force made Zephyr's legs sink deep into the ground. Advertisement, shush. Air kept chopping on Zephyr's arm, no matter how strong his armament haki was. But in the face of this continuous attack, it cannot be completely defended. Zitsa. Zephyr wrapped around armament haki's arm, and Air broke the defense, spraying with blood. However, Zephyr is not necessarily passive defense all the time. Instead, he found the right time, punched him in the past, and temporarily knocked Air out. However, when he looked at his arm again at this time, he could see that there were countless knife marks on his arm. Some parts of the arm are even dripping blood outwards. Damn, this guy's attack is much stronger than I thought. Zephyr glanced at the wound on his arm, his face a little dignified. Although, since the time I played against Air just now, he realized that there was a strength gap between himself and Air. But, with Air fighting seriously, only then did he know how terrifying Air's swordsmanship and haki's accomplishments were. No matter how he is wrapped around the proud armament haki, he can still be injured by Air. Your strength is not enough in front of me, Zephyr. Air approached Zephyr step by step and said lightly. The only place where Zephyr is strong is the armament haki. But, Air's armament haki is no less than Zephyr's. Also, Air's physical skills are stronger than Zephyr's. You know, Air has now unlocked the power of the sage body to the highest level. But when it comes to physical art, there are not many people in the whole world who are above him. Not to mention, Air is also a master with a superb swordsmanship. In front of him, Zephyr is almost without merit. He. Isn't it your opponent? So what? As long as I can hold you back, your entire Rox group will be destroyed in this place today. Zephyr knew very well that he was no match for Air. But he thinks that it can still be done by holding Air. After all, as long as the Rox Pirates and the Walled Pirates support arrive in the Valley of the Gods. So even if the cadres of the Rox regiment have great ability, they will also fall in this place. How long do you think you can hold me? Air sneered. Then try it. Zephyr snorted coldly, and the momentum all over his body rose again. Advertisement. The footsteps slammed towards Air. The two then fought a decisive battle again. Zephyr did not retain his strength in the slightest, fighting with all his might. The purpose is not to defeat Air, but to compete with Air and hold Air. This is his goal now. We're here to assist you, Zephyr Vice Admiral. Right at this moment, countless elite Marines were approaching at an extreme speed. To assist Zephyr, deal with Air. It's just a bunch of soldiers. Air glanced indifferently at the Marine elite not far away. Next second, Air's momentum skyrocketed to the extreme. An extremely violent and extremely deterrent force within his body was forced out directly from his body. This exactly Conqueror's haki. Previously, Air got a special lottery because his sage body reached the highest level, and he drew out an ability promotion card. And that ability promotion card was used by Air to advance the power of Conqueror's haki. Now Air's Conqueror's haki has reached the top level in the world. An incomparably terrifying, chilling aura centered on him and quickly spread out in all directions. Jiao Hao Jiao. A red light visible to the naked eye enveloped countless people. Almost in an instant, an aura of dominance overwhelmed the entire Valley of the Gods. Everyone felt a terrifying collapse that was approaching Tianlingai. This momentum made them fear, tremble, and panic. Whoa! Conqueror's haki whipped up a violent gust of air. In an instant, the incomparably gigantic Valley of the Gods The countless elite Marines fell to the ground with their eyes wide and straight. You must know that the lowest-ranked lieutenant colonel who participated in the Valley of the Gods War this time was a lieutenant colonel. But even so, under Air's Conqueror's haki song, no one can resist such an aura that crushes the soul. Kakaka. The top Conqueror's haki was exposed, and countless cracks appeared in the surrounding ground plane. Air's top Conquerors are enough to cause massive damage to extremely hard ground. Chapter 139 The Conquerors that shook the entire Valley of the Gods. And along with the power of the top Conqueror's haki, it shocked the entire Valley of the Gods. Rox, Whitebeard, Golden Lion, Charlotte Linlin, Kaido, John, Silver Axe, Ochaku, Garp, Zephyr, Sengoku, Crane, Kong, Darrows, Zhenwu, and Black Bat all looked in the direction of Air. The Golden Lion, who was battling in the distance, felt this extremely oppressive Conquerors. A trace of cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Is this Conqueror's haki? Golden Lion is also the awakener of Conqueror's haki. So, he was all too familiar with the power of Conqueror's haki. But this amazing Conqueror's haki makes him a little unbelievable. Is it Air? Is this haki released by Air? John said with surprise. Mamama. Is that monster Air unleashed? It's amazing Conquerors. Charlotte Linlin looked towards Air involuntarily. Gu la la la. Air, did you actually master such a Conqueror's haki? Whitebeard stared at Air for a moment, then laughed loudly. Air, you have never let me down, Rox exclaimed. The Rox had a 737 confrontation with Air not long ago. Air at that time, after unleashing Conqueror's entanglement, was enough to surprise him. Now, he can clearly feel that Air's Conqueror's haki has gotten stronger. You know, Conqueror's haki cannot be practiced. Only when the awakened's own aura and spiritual power reach a certain level can he be promoted. Rox has been in the sea for decades, and it was only some time ago. Awakened the top Conqueror's haki, and Air joined his Rox group, but only for a while. Actually, has already become a master, Conqueror's haki that is on par with him. Since the Rox descended on this sea, he was born to believe that this sea is his master. This sea will suffer from his rule in the future. Because he is the strongest, no one can match his talent or strength. But, until Air came along, only then did he know that there are monsters even more terrifying than him in this world. Compared to the shock of the Rox group, on Marine's side, he was terrified. Added, advertisement, what a joke, this guy has awakened the Conqueror's haki, Brownie roared. Although he is the strongest of the naval headquarters today, and the supreme commander of the naval headquarters, Marshal Marine. And it is also the master, the Conqueror's haki that can only be awakened among millions of people. But, even so, he is still one step away from Master's top Conquerors. And Air, in this age group, has mastered the top Conquerors. This monster must be killed in the Valley of the Gods today. Kong's eyes were full of killing intent, and his eyes were staring at Air. Anyone in the Rox group today can go. But only Rox and Air, they Marine no matter how painful the price. We must keep these two, out-of-reason monsters, in this Valley of the Gods. Even though we have been training hard for all these years, is it still not as good as the monster Air? 35 Sengoku said solemnly. In order to defeat the Rox group, in order not to lag behind Air. Over the years, they have been carrying out devil-like training all the time. I thought that the strength was close to Air, and even surpassed Air. But with Air unleashing this amazing Conqueror's haki, Sengoku knew that there was still a big gap between them and Air. Damn, this monster Air, Zephyr alone cannot defeat it. Garp looked in Air's direction while dealing with the enemy in front of him. He has already decided to solve the enemy in front of him and go to assist Zephyr. Although 2-on-1 is shameful, as long as you can kill Air. Everything is irrelevant. In the battlefield, Zephyr felt Air's coercion like a god of war, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead instantly. Only from the closest distance can he most intuitively feel how terrifying Air's Conquerors is. So back to the topic, how long do you think you can hold on to me, Zephyr? Air came from the blade, covered with a layer of top-notch Conquerors. In the face of his attack, Zephyr is losing ground. Zephyr, at best, is only a good 2-color haki, but Air is well ahead of him by a top Conqueror's twist. This disparity in strength makes the confrontation between Zephyr and Air even more difficult. Advertisement, it's not that easy to beat me, Air. Zephyr's face darkened and he yelled. Air's power after using Conquerors is really amazing. However, Zephyr is also a physique expert who is not inferior to Garp. So, even in the face of Air's unstoppable attack, Zephyr persisted. Then let me see how long you can hold on, clang clang. Air's blade kept colliding with Zephyr. With each impact, Zephyr moved back a bit. It can be seen that at this time Zephyr covered Armament Haki's fist, which was already full of blood. But despite this, Zephyr still did not give up resisting Air. Although he is very clear that he is not Air's opponent. But he still didn't give up and compete with Air. After all, if Air were to defeat him, then it will definitely find the next opponent. Instead of letting someone else face such a monster, let him hold Air with his life. The battle between the two lasted for a long time. At this time, Zephyr was already covered with knife marks, and the blood had already dyed his clothes red. But even so, Zephyr still did not fall, still struggling to support. Even though Air is ahead by a top Conqueror's twist, but wants to beat it. Air's face sank, and then he poured his haki power into the Demon Slayer. It can be seen that after absorbing a large amount of haki, Demon Slayer. But that's the end of it. No matter what the other party said, it was also one of the strongest 4-star Marines in this era. The blade became darker and darker, and strands of dark black ghosts lingered on Air's arms. It sure takes a lot of time. Air raised his brows slightly, and couldn't help but look at Zephyr. You are much more tenacious than I thought. Chapter 140. Let me be your opponent. Air. After the Demon Slayer absorbed a large amount of haki in Air's body, the blade exuded an aura like a hell devil. Air's aura, in a very short period of time, climbed to the top, and the aura on his body exudes the danger of ultimate Godfall. Air slashed the demons with both hands, and stomped the ground violently. The speed was like a gust of wind whistling. In an instant, he appeared in front of Zephyr. Shoo! A dark black sword light flashed in the air. The sharp-edged sword energy directly tore apart the space, and directly slashed Zephyr with the might of destroying the world. In the face of such an attack, Zephyr did not dare to be careless. A layer of terrifying armament haki was wrapped all over his body, and then he took a defensive posture, trying to defend against this slash from Air. The moment Air's Demon Slayer touched Zephyr's body, infinite power poured directly into Zephyr's body. Although Zephyr was wrapped in armament, he took a defensive posture. But because of the long battle with Air, he was seriously injured. In addition, the continuous use of haki's power made his stamina exhausted too much. Air's sword energy slashed on him, making him completely unable to defend. Puff! Zephyr spat out blood, and his body flew upside down like a meteor. Boom! Zephyr's body slammed into a building in the Valley of the Gods. The huge house was directly smashed into ruins by Zephyr's body. A thick black smoke filled the sky, and the broken stones also covered Zephyr's body. Zephyr Vice Admiral. Damn it, Zephyr Vice Admiral lost. And you see, this guy Air has no injuries at all. The strength of this monster is too terrifying. He even defeated Zephyr Vice Admiral without taking any damage. How could our top Vice Admiral at Naval Headquarters be so vulnerable to Air? Many Marine elites looked at the ruins where Zephyr fell, and their hearts were full of fear. Zephyr, though, is not Marine Admiral, but it's also the top Vice Admiral at their Naval Headquarters. Advertisement. It is highly valued by Marine Admiral. But it was such a strong man that he lost to Air. And Air, he didn't even have the slightest injury all over his body. One of the top powerhouses in Naval Headquarters was defeated, which directly attracted the attention of the powerhouses in the entire Valley of the Gods. Has this D Air actually defeated the Vice Admiral Zephyr of Naval Headquarters? John raised his brows slightly as he watched the scene in front of him. The speed with which Air ended the fight really surprised John. In the entire Valley of the Gods, only Captain Rox and Air are fighting with all their strength, but the strength of these two monsters is really a headache, Silver Axe said with a gloomy expression. There is a high probability that Rox will die here today. The Rox group will also be disbanded, and wait until the Rox group disbanded. There is no doubt that the top pirate in the entire sea is Air. And Silver Axe also has the ambition to dominate the world. Then the strongest enemy in front of him at that time is Air. Gia ha ha ha. Air, your strength is as amazing as ever, Golden Lion laughed loudly. Since Air defeated Zephyr, a top fighting force, then there will definitely be another opponent, which is a good thing for the Golden Lion. After all, there are fewer top players in Marine. Then he has more room to move, and he can wait for the opportunity to find Uranus. Mama. Sometimes it's not a good thing to have too much limelight in a big fight, Air, Charlotte Linlin said with a wry smile. Air is really strong and can defeat Zephyr without taking any damage. I just lost a little haki in my stamina, but don't forget, today's Valley of the Gods war. But there are many top Marines, as well as Daros, the captain from the World Government CPO organization. Of course, it won't be long before the Roger Pirates and the Walled Pirates arrive on this battlefield. It is very likely that everyone's target will be the monster Air. Zephyr. Garp yelled. Garp was originally going to beat Charlotte Linlin. Then went to assist Zephyr, but Charlotte Linlin's strength was not much inferior to him. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't defeat him. Advertisement 0. Ask for flowers. Now I can only watch helplessly. Zephyr is defeated. Has Zephyr been defeated? It's no wonder that Air's monster master is waiting for Conqueror's haki. It's normal that Zephyr is not an opponent. 35 Zhenwu Admiral glanced at Air and said solemnly. Even Zhenwu Admiral, now there is no 100% certainty to take down monsters like Air. Therefore, Zephyr lost, which did not surprise Admiral too much. It's enough to hold Air's hands for so long. Zephyr, 99. The words fall. Kong defeated several ordinary cadres from the Rox regiment in front of him. Then he glanced in the direction of the ruins where Zephyr had fallen. Since Air unleashed top-notch Conqueror's haki, Kong has known that Zephyr is definitely no match for Air. Today, Zephyr can hold Air's hands for so long, which is enough in Kong's view. Because he has dealt with a large number of ordinary cadres from the Rox regiment. Next, his target is Air. Let me be your opponent, Air. Kong took off his shirt. Revealing extremely strong and scarred muscles, he slowly came to Air's eyes. It took Kong a lot of time to deal with the ordinary cadres from the Rox group. However, this did not make Kong consume too much physical strength. Now he is fully qualified to fight Air, Kong Admiral. Kong's strength is extremely strong, and he belongs to the top group of people in the entire naval headquarters. Yeah, Kong Admiral is already the best candidate for the next marshal of our naval headquarters. Such a man will definitely defeat Air. As long as Brownie abdicates, the next marshal marine will be Kong, Beg. The Marines' morale was extremely low because Zephyr was defeated by Air. The world government, as well as the senior management of naval headquarters, all recognize Kong. Is Kong Admiral going to fight Air? And the best candidate for the next marshal marine is Kong. Air will be dealt with by Kong Admiral, no problem. 35. But with Kong Admiral standing up, all Marines suddenly regained their fighting spirit. Chapter 141. The Vault of Heaven. Cracked, please complete order. Kong? Air glanced coldly at the man in front of him. Kong is arguably the strongest of the three admirals today. In the future, he became the commander-in-chief of the naval headquarters, a man who surpassed the Marines. His strength is unfathomable, and the practice of Conqueror's haki has long been consummate. Air held the blade and stared at Kong with a strong fighting intent. And Kong's momentum is naturally not inferior to Air. You can be as terrifying as Master Conqueror's haki. You are indeed very strong, Air. But today you have come to an end. Kong clenched his fists tightly, with a strong killing intent in his eyes, staring at Air. Really, I don't think so. Air said calmly. Kong is indeed very strong, but 737, not enough to let him lose here. After all, his real whole card has not been used yet. Let me see what kind of strength you, a man called a monster by the sea, have. The words fell, and Kong's fist was wrapped in a layer of armament haki and charged directly towards Air. And Air is naturally true, holding the Demon Slayer, stepping on his feet, and quickly approaching Kong. The figures of the two approached in an instant. Air. Kong roared loudly, and his arm suddenly appeared blue veins, and slammed into Air. Kong is a strong man who specializes in physique. Now his physique is at the top level in the entire naval headquarters. Not even Zephyr, or even Garp's physical skills have reached Kong's level. Boom. There was an instant collision between the blade and the fist. The momentum of the two, like two wild beasts, quickly spread around them with them as the center. The ground beneath his feet was as fragile as paper, and under the offensive momentum of the two, it was broken inch by inch. Countless fissures appeared. Accompanied by the strength of the arms of the two, a more terrifying momentum shook the world again. The high-altitude clouds were scattered directly by the shock. Advertisement: the sky that was originally sunny for thousands of miles has since been shaken away by the white clouds. Then it became gloomy, dark clouds lingered, and lightning flashed. Boom bang bang. The figures of the two quickly retreated backwards, and the next moment they collided again. Kong kept waving two pairs of iron fists, smashing hard at Air. And Air is also constantly wielding Demon Slayer, while defending and looking for Kong's flaws. Kong is a true admiral powerhouse. His strength is many times stronger than Zephyr's. However, this is not to say that Zephyr is weak, but in this Valley of the Gods period, none of them have fully grown to the peak period. Whether it's Garp or the group of Whitebeards, it's still growing up at this time. Never reached the true peak. The battle between the two quickly entered the white-hot stage, with all buildings and ground levels in the area of several hundred meters. Due to the battle between the two, they were all destroyed. The battle between the two became more and more fierce. Your strength is quite to my taste, Air said with a slight rise in the corners of his mouth. Don't be too arrogant, you be **************** D. Your strength is not enough in front of me. Kong snorted coldly, and then his fists were covered with armed color and Conqueror's haki at the same time. With all his strength, he slammed into Air. His punch contained endless power, as if it could split mountains and rocks and destroy everything. Breakdown. Air took a step back suddenly, and then a large amount of haki in his body poured into the demon. The color of the blade gradually changed from dark black to dark red, which was extremely coquettish and exuded a frightening aura. Shoo! Air swung the blade sharply, hitting Kong's fist. Boom boom. It can be seen that before the two attacks collided, they set off an endless momentum. Advertisement: the ground plane with a radius of 10 meters is directly sunk into a depth of several meters. The dark clouds in the sky were also torn apart. Look, the sky is split. Damn it, it's really cracked. The confrontation between Kong Admiral and Air can actually split the sky. The strength of these two people is too terrifying. 9. The battle between Kong and Air can be described as a direct shock to the audience. It can even tear apart the high-altitude clouds. It is the first time they have seen such a spectacle. It now seems that Kong Admiral and Air are on a par. Equally, you underestimate Kong Admiral's strength too much. Although Air has special powers as a master, he is definitely not Kong Admiral's opponent. Yes, Kong Admiral's strength, in our entire naval headquarters, is second only to Marshal Brownie. No matter how strong Air is, it is impossible to defeat Kong Admiral. Although Air's strength gave them a group of marine elites, it brought endless shock. However, they still believe that Kong is stronger than Air. After all, Kong is the strongest admiral in naval headquarters. Center of the battlefield. The battle between Air and Kong has been ongoing. However, the two fought for a long time, but neither could do anything to the other. Although it is said without the help of Kurama's power, as well as the power of the Sage's Eye, Air's strength is weaker than Kong's. However, in a short period of time, Kong also had no way to get Air 4.3. After a long time, the melee in the Valley of the Gods lasted for a long time. During this period, there were numerous casualties. The Rox lost a large number of crew members, as well as some cadres. On the marine side, there were also heavy losses, and countless marine elites were killed. And Darrows with the Phoenix Devil Fruit was beheaded by Whitebeard. Whitebeard's current strength, although it has not yet reached the true peak of the original. However, the destructive power of his Devil Fruit ability is too strong. Chapter 142. The Rox Pirates arrive at the Valley of God. Darrows's Phoenix, Devil Fruit, has a strong resilience. However, what this Devil Fruit can recover is trauma. As for internal injuries, although the same can be recovered, but not as fast as trauma. And Whitebeard's Shock Fruit directly causes irreversible damage to his internal organs. Restoring internal organs is a huge physical drain on Darrows. Therefore, under the repeated attacks of Whitebeard, Darrows ended in exhaustion. Since the fall of Darrows, the naval headquarters side has directly lost two top combat powers. One is Zephyr and the other is Darrows. However, the situation on the battlefield did not tilt towards the Rox regiment. Moreover, the ordinary cadres of the Rox regiment were almost wiped out in this battle of the Valley of the Gods. Only Kaido survived. As for the main cadres, Air, Whitebeard, Golden Lion, Charlotte Linlin, John, Silver Axe, Ochaku, et al. Although there are some injuries, no 03 people have fallen in this Valley of the Gods. As the Rox and Marine are in full-scale war, the situation is escalating. In the battlefield, a loud shout suddenly came, "Marshal Brownie!" This sound attracted countless powerhouses to look at the location of Rox and Brownie. I saw Brownie half kneeling on the ground, next to his severed arm. Fighting the Rox for such a long time, Brownie's physical strength has been exhausted, and Rox even cut off an arm. Rox. Brownie was half kneeling on the ground, looking grimly at the man in front of him. The battle between us is over, Brownie. The words fell, and Rox slashed down with the supreme sword. Swish. 35 Brownie's body was directly cut in half by Rox, and endless blood was sprayed on Rox's body. Advertisement: at this time, Rox stood in the same place, watching everything around him, like a blood-soaked god of war, with the terrifying aura of being one man in charge of one man. Marshal Brownie. How could it be that even Marshal Brownie was killed? Luo. What kind of monsters are these guys in the Rox regiment? Zephyr Vice Admiral was defeated, all the reinforcements sent by the world government were killed, and now even Marshal Brownie died in the Rox hands. We will lose. These guys are completely invincible enemies. Watching Brownie's figure cut in half, countless marine elites suddenly panicked to the extreme. Morale dropped directly to the bottom. Jihaha. Captain Rox's strength is truly astonishing. Golden Lion's eyes flashed with murderous intent as he looked towards Rox. Although it is said that Rox successfully beheaded Brownie, but he also has a lot of injuries. At this time, the Golden Lion had already made plans. If there is no Marine who can kill Rox in this Valley of the Gods, then he will end Rox himself. With Captain Rox here, it seems that we can definitely win the Valley of the Gods war. 35 Charlotte Linlin said with a meaningful smile. Charlotte Linlin has been fighting against Garp, but she has also been maintaining her physical strength. Because of Zeus White Cloud, she has been pulling the battlefield and avoiding the battle with Garp. As a result of the fighting going on for a long time, Garp has not been able to do much about her. Because her idea is the same as that of Golden Lion, she is ready to backstab Rox at the last moment. Air, who was fighting with Kong not far away, glanced at Rox and said solemnly, "This is your strength, Rox." Now Air, more and more convinced. That is if the cadres of the Rox regiment really fight for the Rox with all their strength. The Rox really have the potential to take over the world. But unfortunately, the only ones who are fighting for the Rox are Air and Whitebeard. As for the Golden Lion and the others, they fought while paddling while observing the situation on the battlefield. Even, the Golden Lion and the others have already thought about it. If no one can kill Rox by then they will directly backstab Rox. All in all, Golden Lion and others will never let Rox leave the Valley of the Gods alive. Damn Rox. Advertisement. The veins on Kong's forehead suddenly appeared, and he glared at Rox, who was bathed in blood in the distance. Brownie, but the marshal of their naval headquarters, is their leader. Now, he was beheaded by Rox in this Valley of God. In this dull atmosphere, there was a burst of laughter. Ha ha ha. The situation in the Valley of the Gods is very anxious. Hearing this familiar voice, Air unconsciously looked towards the source of the voice. I saw a huge ship docked on the shore of the Valley of the Gods. And the person standing at the bow of the ship, it was a tall man in a red-pink shirt with a straw hat on his head. He is none other than Roger. Oops, here comes the Roger Pirates. Idiot, what are you panicking? The Roger Pirates are our Marines' help. They're here to deal with the Rox Pirates 737 with us. Great, our reinforcements are finally here. With the addition of the Roger Pirates, we are sure to win. Kill these pirates. The reinforcements have arrived, and this is the day of the Rox group's demise. At the beginning of the period, this group of Marine elites was extremely frightened when they saw the Roger Pirates arriving on the battlefield. But they suddenly remembered that the Roger Pirates were their reinforcements. You must know that the Roger Pirates are the top pirates in the entire New World after the Rox. With such pirates joining the battlefield, help them deal with the Rox pirate, the Marine will win. Meet again, Roger. Roger noticed Air at first glance and greeted him with a smile. A ship on the coast of the Valley of the Gods. Air took a step back, away from Brownie, then smiled at Roger. Long time no see, Air. It has indeed been a long time since the two had seen each other since the last war. Originally because of Brownie's death, Marines' morale fell to the bottom. But with the appearance of the Roger Regiment, this group of Marine elites once again ignited endless fighting spirit. Roger, Rayleigh, Jabba, and countless other crew members jumped off the ship and landed in the Valley of the Gods. Chapter 143. The arrival of the Roger Regiment. Everyone's reaction required. Roger teamed up with me and killed Air. Kong yelled at Roger. With only one person's words, Kong and Air's confrontation, although the upper hand. However, Air's physique was too terrifying, and he couldn't take Air in a short period of time. But if there is Roger's help, the two will join forces. You can take Air at will. After all, Roger's strength is also extremely terrifying. Kong, I just joined forces with your Marines, but that doesn't mean I will obey your Marines. Roger shook his head slightly. Although Roger also wants to play against Air, he wants to know how strong Air is now. But Roger is also a principled pirate, and he also respects Air's strength. Therefore, he will not choose to team up with Kong for 2-on-1. What's more, his participation in the war in the Valley of the Gods today was not for Air, but for Rox. Roger was actually very disdainful of teaming up with Marine. But the threat of Rox is too great. Rox don't die, Rox don't disband, this sea will never be their Roger's world. Moreover, Roger is well aware that the Rox have regarded their Roger regiment as an enemy. If the Rox are not removed as soon as possible, the entire Rox group will not be disbanded. I'm afraid that in the future, their Roger group will be eliminated by the Rox group. What do you mean by this guy? Kong frowned upon hearing this, his expression extremely gloomy. Today, the situation on the battlefield, for them Marine, is not optimistic. After all, Marine Marshal Brownie has been beheaded by the Rox. The appearance of the Roger group was originally very exciting for Kong. After all three of Roger, Rayleigh, and Jabba are not simple characters. Coupled with the other pirates of the Roger group, if this force helps them deal with the Rox group. In this battle of the Valley of the Gods, the Marine will definitely win. But now Roger says they don't follow Marine's orders. This brought Kong's heart directly to his throat. Advertisement. If the Roger regiment forsook their Marine alliance and joined forces with the Rox regiment. So today, all of them Marine is likely to die here. Our goal is only Rox. Roger said calmly. The only man Roger worried about in this sea was Rox. His goal of forming an alliance with the world government was just to kill Rox in the Valley of the Gods. Don't tell us Kong. Air is not the target of our participation in the Valley of the Gods battle, Rayleigh said lightly. The words of Roger and Rayleigh, although Kong sounded unusually unhappy. However, his dangling heart was relieved at this time, and he said in a deep voice. In that case, the Rox will be handed over to you. Originally, Roger refused to obey their marine, making Kong think that the Roger regiment was going to defect. But now it seems that the Roger regiment will not defect for the time being, but will deal with the Rox. Although, Roger refused to join him against Air. But, the purpose of the Roger regiment is Rox now, which is not bad. After all, Rox is now a bigger threat than Air. Rox can be removed by Roger's regiment. This also greatly relieved the pressure on their marines. Kong stared at the three of Roger and continued. But, you guys, if you dare to betray, don't blame us for being rude. Do you think it's appropriate to talk to us like this? Kong? Your marine's current situation is not so optimistic, Jabba sneered. Although it is said that the Rox regiment lost a lot of troops, as well as many ordinary cadres. However, none of the main cadres did not die. On the other hand, Marine, Marshal Brownie died in battle. Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral Zephyr was injured and temporarily unable to participate in the battle. It can be said that the current Marine has fallen into an embarrassing situation. Their Roger regiment can both help Marine get rid of the Rox. Likewise, they can also help the Rox get rid of Marine. The situation on the battlefield is completely in the hands of their Roger regiment. Advertisement their thoughts will lead to the destruction of the fighting strength of the Rox regiment and Marine. Now, since Kong has threatened them with the Roger regiment, it can't help but make them feel a little ridiculous. You'd better save your energy now and deal with Air. Rayleigh glanced at Kong lightly. You guys. When Kong heard the remarks of several people, his forehead suddenly burst with anger. However, he didn't say anything to refute, because Roger et al. Are telling the truth. If the members of the Roger regiment are now against the water, their Marines will definitely have nothing to do with the Roger regiment. Fortunately, the Roger regiment is the one who keeps its promises. In addition, the purpose of their participation in the Valley of the Gods war today is to kill Rox. Let the Rox group disband. At this moment, Garp shouted at Roger. Backquote Roger. Ha ha ha. Long time no see Garp, you are still so energetic, Roger greeted Garp. Since their Roger regiment came to New World, the enemy they faced was Garp. It can be said that Garp is like a dogskin plaster, constantly attacking their Roger regiment. The two have fought each other many times so far. Our Marines' cooperation with your Roger regiment is only in this battle of the Valley of the Gods, and when this battle is over, I will arrest you personally. Garp stared at Roger with both eyes and said solemnly. You're still as haunted as ever, Garp, but if you want to arrest, to arrest us, just let it go. Rayleigh pulled out the famous sword from his waist and said coldly. As if a fight was about to start in the next moment, Kong hurriedly said Song. You don't need to remind us, we also know Kong. Roger glanced at Kong lightly. Hey, you guys, don't forget to cooperate with us, your purpose is the Rox group. Been trying to figure out a way to target them with the Roger regiment. Seeing Garp staring at Roger, Rayleigh, and Jabba. If you want to arrest us, why wait until the battle of the Valley of the Gods is over, we can become your opponents now, Garp. Jabba also drew out his axe. Rayleigh didn't know why, but Garp seemed to have a soft spot for their Roger regiment. Kong is terrifying now. Roger's regiment switched opponents and launched an attack on the Marine. Because if so, they Marine will go to extinction. Chapter 144 Turning the Tide of the Battle. Roger and Marine join forces, required. The words fell, and Roger walked slowly to Garp. Garp, let's wait until after the Battle of the Valley of the Gods. We have no interest in Marine at the moment. Garp snorted and said nothing. In his opinion, it is shameful to join forces with pirates. But now, they Marine also had to lower their stature and join forces with the Roger regiment. After all, the current situation of their Marines is really not optimistic. Hearing the conversation between Roger and the Marines, the crew of the Rox regiment felt bad. Damn it, the Roger Pirates, are they allied with Marine? First thought Marine was trying to scare us, but the Roger Pirates actually formed an alliance with these guys. Although Captain Rox killed Marshal Brownie Marine, but the appearance of the Roger Pirates is very unfavorable to us. The damn Roger Pirates, Captain Rox, should have ordered the damned pirates to be destroyed. Many crew members of the Rox regiment were discussing and staring at Roger and others with resentment. Originally, the Rox beheaded Brownie. They have determined that the ultimate winner of this war is their Rox regiment. But with the emergence of the Roger regiment, they felt something was wrong. Now, they can be absolutely convinced that Roger's regiment has joined forces with Marine. This is very bad news for their Rox group. You must know the Roger group, but the existence of New World is second only to their Rox group. Gia ha ha ha. Roger, I really didn't expect you to actually join forces with Marine. Golden Lion floated in midair, folded his arms in front of his chest and laughed loudly. Hearing the words of Darrows, the captain of the CPO organization, made Golden Lion doubtful. But with the appearance of Roger's regiment and the dialogue with the Marines, this confirms the Golden Lion, and the Roger group has really joined forces with the Pirates. Joining with Marine to deal with our Rox group, you are a shame for Pirates, Roger. 35 Charlotte Linlin stared at Roger and said solemnly. Charlotte Linlin, it's not right for you to say this. Pirates and Marine are enemies, but aren't we also enemies? What's wrong with forming an alliance with the enemy of the enemy? Roger spread his hands. Advertisement. It's impossible not to ally with Marine. Are we going to ally with your Rox? Don't be kidding. Your Rox want to destroy us all the time. Rayleigh said calmly. Marine wants to destroy their Roger regiment. The same Rox wanted to destroy their Rogers. If it is said that the Marine and the Rox regiment have a high probability of destroying their Roger regiment, then it is the Rox group. Although, Marine's top team has enough power to destroy their Roger regiment. But don't forget, Marine's enemies are the Pirates of the entire New World. Marine simply couldn't send too many troops to destroy their Roger regiment. But the Rox group is not necessarily. This group is strong like a cloud. If you encounter the Rox group in New World, then what awaits their Roger regiment will be complete destruction. That's why you allied with Marine? Charlotte Linlin sneers. Who are we allied with? Do we still need to report to you, Charlotte Linlin? We are both pirates, but we are not friends, Jabba said indifferently. Mama. That's true, but you Rogers, I'll take you down myself in the future. Charlotte Linlin grinned mischievously. You can try. Rayleigh said calmly. If it is said that the entire Rox group, they will still be a little afraid. But just based on a cadre of the Rox regiment, they really didn't take it too seriously. After all, they are also the strongest pirate group under the New World, Rox group. John's pupils shone brightly, staring at a few people. Speaking of which, are you guys just for Captain Rox today? If the purpose of the Roger group today is only for the Rox, so this is good news for their group of cadres. After all, they participated in the Battle of the Valley of the Gods so that Rox would be killed. Use this to disband the Rox group, but if the purpose of Roger's group is not just Rox alone, advertisement and also want to destroy the words of their other cadres, that would be troublesome. Ha ha ha. John, you really asked a strange question. How do I feel? You seem to want your Captain Rox to die in the Valley of the Gods? Roger laughed. Don't talk nonsense, Roger, John retorted repeatedly. The deterrent effect of Rox on their group of cadres is too strong. Although the current Rox will face the attack of the entire Roger regiment. But at this time, John still didn't dare to say anything that offended Rox. You also underestimate the strength of Captain Rox. It's impossible for the three of you to defeat Captain Rox, unless your entire Roger regiment fights Captain Rox together. Silver Axe stared at the three of them slowly. On the surface, Silver Axe is touting the Rox strength. But in fact, his real purpose is to completely cut off Rox way back. If the entire Roger group is to deal with Rox alone, then let Rox have great ability. Today, they will also fall in this Valley of the Gods. Because no matter what, the Rox had previously killed Marine Marshal Brownie, and lost a lot of stamina and haki. I advise you, don't participate in this Valley of the Gods war. You are not the opponents of Captain Rox at all. Ochaku also followed. Really, I don't think so, Roger said calmly. Ha ha ha. Roger Pirates, interesting. Gee, no matter how heaven-defying Captain Rox is, he will not be able to leave the Valley of the Gods alive today. See the Rox approaching this way. Roger, Rayleigh, and Jabba were suddenly facing a big enemy, and they all took up their weapons and looked directly at Rox. Hearing Roger's response, Silver Axe and Ochaku both laughed inwardly. Not far away, Rox was stained with blood, and slowly moved towards this side and approached the wind lightly. Take the bait. The whole Roger regiment takes on Captain Rox. Just the three of you want to kill me? Rox snorted coldly. Chapter 145. The name of this era is Rox. Chapter 145. This era is called Rox. Although 3-on-1 is a bit bullying, but you are going to die here today no matter what. Why don't you have a good fight before you die, Rox? Roger pulled out the ace, the supreme sword at his waist, and stared at Rox with a smile on the corner of his mouth. Roger has no intention of going one-on-one with Rox. After all, how strong Rox is, he still understands something. Against such a top powerhouse, Roger is very clear that he will not have the slightest chance of winning. But if the combination of Rayleigh, Jabba, the three attack the Rox together, Roger thinks there is still a good chance of winning. After all, the strength of the three of them is not weak, and there is a strong tacit understanding. It is our honor to be able to fight against the strongest man in this sea. Jabba also took out his axe, with an excited smile on his face. Although I felt a strong sense of oppression in Rox. But, he's not fighting the Rox alone, he's fighting in groups. This is your last fight, Rox, Rayleigh said solemnly. Today, they either killed Rox or were killed by Rox. However, in Rayleigh's view, the outcome of today's battle must be their victory. And Rox will be killed by them. Ha ha ha. The three young brats dare to say such big things in front of me? Just because the three of you are not qualified at all, let the whole Roger regiment come. Rox laughed grimly. Even if one fights the entire Roger regiment alone. There was no trace of fear on Rox's face at this time. Excited and passionate. Because of the mere Roger regiment, he hasn't paid attention yet. Who is he? He is the captain of the Rox group, the strongest man in the world. What is Roger? Rox has never paid attention to it. Captain Rox, kill all these bastards. Captain Rox is the strongest man in the world, and the Roger regiment alone cannot defeat him. Rox. 99, Rox. Advertisement, Rox. Here the haki manifesto of the Rox fighting the entire Roger regiment alone. Countless Rox members were directly excited. Unlike other cadres, they really expected the Rox to win. Hopefully, Rox can defeat the entire Roger group and lead the Rox group to dominate the world. This is your declaration before you die, Captain Rox, and it seems you understand that you cannot leave the Valley of the Gods alive today. 55. Golden Lion crossed his arms in front of his chest, stared at Rox's figure and smiled inwardly. The Rox are really strong, Golden Lion admits. But Roger, Rayleigh, Jabba, these three are also famous big pirates in New World. If coupled with the siege of all the pirates of the entire Roger group. Regardless of whether the Rox is in peak form, there is not much chance of winning. And now, Rox, whose stamina has been exhausted, has directly declared war on the entire Roger regiment. To anyone, this is a foolish and self-defeating choice. Fighting the entire Roger regiment alone, is this your daring, Captain Rox? Air stared at Rox with both eyes. Although Air made a promise with Rox, he would fight for him with all his strength. And now Air is fulfilling his promise and fighting with all his might. However, it still didn't turn out as Air expected. In any case, it is absolutely impossible for today's Rox to leave the Valley of the Gods alive. This place will bring him death. Just the three of us, let's play against you for now, Rox. The words fell, and Roger, Rayleigh, and Jabba charged directly towards Rox. Roger doesn't plan to use the power of the rest of the crew to deal with the Rox just yet. He needs to test the strength of Rox before making a decision. Come on, let you bastards see the real strength. 39. Rox roared angrily, holding a blade, and directly greeted the three of them. Boom. Accompanied by a deafening loud noise, black smoke and dust covering the sky rose from the scene. The Rox fought Roger, Rayleigh, and Jabba. In terms of personal strength, today's Rox is the top-level powerhouse in the entire sea. Advertisement after all, his Conqueror's haki, as well as his swordsmanship and physique. All of them have cultivated to the most terrifying level in this sea. 0. For flowers. Even a man like Roger is nowhere near the Rox right now. But, the current situation is not one-on-one between Roger and Rox. Instead, Roger, Rayleigh, and Jabba are besieging the Rox. If in the peak state of Rox, I'm afraid that with the combination of these three, Rox can also compete for it. But, because of beheading Marine Marshal Darrows, this caused Rox to consume a lot of physical strength, and there was still a slight injury on his body. Facing the attack of Roger's three, the Rox showed a slight disadvantage. However, it is also impossible for the three Rogers to win the Rox for a period of time. Dang dang dang. Clang clang. Between swords and swords, the Rox fought hard. Constantly blocking the attack of the three people, and from time to time seize the opponent's flaws and make counterattacks. His swordsmanship is extremely sharp, completely surpassing that of the great swordsman Roger. And Rayleigh, not to mention the swordsmanship with Jabba, is simply not enough to see in front of Rox. At this time, Rox is like a god of war, in the face of the siege of the three, although showing a slight disadvantage. But his momentum is not weaker than Roger's three. Even stronger than the three Rogers, they belong to the more courageous in Vietnam. As expected of the strongest man in this sea, in the face of the attack of the three of us, he can still achieve such a level. Roger's forehead was startled with a cold sweat, and he stared at Rox in surprise. Sure enough, even when the three of us join forces, we can't be careless at all, Rayleigh said solemnly. The three of them joined forces, and although they could have the upper hand, it was not that easy to hurt Rox. Rox's almost terrifying, pervert strength can be said to have given them great pressure. Although Rox is strong, but he is no match for us when the three of us are completely serious, Jabba said. Roger, Rayleigh, Jabba are not only the three trump cards of the Roger Pirates. At the same time, their tacit understanding is also extremely powerful. Since they went to sea so far, as long as the three of them fought together, they have hardly lost any victory. Beg. Chapter 146 Rox. Fight the whole regiment with one person, please complete the order. The three of them cooperated extremely well, and Roger resisted Rox's attack head-on. And on both sides, they are constantly launching offensives. It's not that easy to beat Lousy, Rox roared furiously. He saw blue veins all over his body, holding the blade tightly in his hand, entwined with the armed color and the power of conquerors. He slashed towards the three of them suddenly, and his knife seemed to possess the power of annihilation. Can split everything, destroy everything, kill everything. In the face of his knife, even Roger, Rayleigh, and Jabba did not dare to be careless. The three joined forces and tried their best to resist Rox's knife. The battle between Rox and Roger quickly entered a white-hot stage. Afterwards, all the pirates of the Roger group who were watching also faced the Rox. After all, his 737 can also see it, even if Roger, Rayleigh, Jabba team up to deal with the Rox. Still looking a bit exhausted, with the addition of other pirates from the Roger group. The situation on the battlefield has directly turned into Rox fighting the entire Roger regiment alone. Watching the confrontation between Rox and the entire Roger regiment, Golden Lion's forehead at this time was startled with cold sweat. It's really outrageous, Captain Rox, didn't you use your full strength in the confrontation with Marine Marshal Brownie? The Rox versus Brownie fight, the Golden Lion is always on the lookout. I thought that the power of Rox to kill Brownie was already Rox's full strength. But along with that, the Rox were alone against the entire Roger regiment, and they were only at a slight disadvantage. His combat power has surpassed the performance of defeating Marine Marshal Brownie. The battle between Rox and the Roger regiment directly attracted the attention of all the powerhouses in the Valley of the Gods. Everyone stopped fighting involuntarily and looked in the direction of Rox. But, no matter how strong you are, you won't survive today, Captain Rox, Charlotte Linlin said slowly. The Rox played against the entire Roger regiment, albeit at a slight disadvantage. But because there are too many strong players alone, this is a huge drain on Rox's physical strength. In Charlotte Linlin's view, the Rox can only compete for a short time. If time drags on, then the Rox are sure to lose. Advertisement, is that all you can do, Captain Rox? Air stared at the bloody Rox in the middle of the battlefield and said solemnly. The almost invincible strength of Rox really surprised Air. In the center of the battlefield, Rox was like a god of killing, bathed in blood. A lot of the blood on his body was his own, but more of it was the pirates of the Roger regiment. Although, Roger, Rayleigh, Jabba teamed up enough to compete with the Rox. But the rest of the crew can't. Under Rox's swordsmanship, their bodies are destroyed like paper. If Rox goes down with a knife, countless pirates must be killed. Kong glanced in the direction of Rox, then put his eyes on Air and said with a smile on the corner of his mouth. Your captain is dead, Air. The strength of the Roger regiment is not weak, the entire Roger regiment dealt with Rox alone. Kong couldn't believe that in this situation, Rox could still be alive. Air glanced at Kong lightly, but did not speak. Air once stood in God's perspective. So when he joined the Rox group, he knew very well that Rox would definitely die in the Valley of the Gods in the future. Because his strength is too powerful, countless marines and pirates are terrified. In this way, the man who occupies the top of the world, no one in this sea will allow him to survive. Except your Captain Rox is destined to fall in the Valley of the Gods, you will also die in this place. Killing intent bloomed in Kong's eyes. This time the Valley of the Gods battle, the world government has already issued an order. The cadres of the other Rox regiments can leave it alone. But only Rox and Air must die in the Valley of the Gods. Today, Rox is besieged by the entire Roger regiment, and it's only a matter of time before death. And before the Valley of the Gods war ended, Kong will also do his best to kill Air from the Valley of God. I don't think you can do such a thing, Kong, 99 Air said lightly. Then try it. Kong didn't say much nonsense, and charged directly towards Air. The battle between the two quickly entered a white-hot stage. Air without the help of other forces, although the strength is indeed inferior to Kong Zero. Advertisement, however, Kong has always been unable to take him. After a long time, boom, as the two launched their offensive again, they each retreated backwards. Marine Admiral, that's enough trouble. Air frowned slightly and stared at Kong in front of him. The two fought fiercely for a long time, and now Air still has a lot of physical strength. But, because of the continuous infusion of armed color and Conqueror's haki in the demon beheading, now Air's haki is almost depleted, although it will take a lot of time to take you down, but now it looks like I'm almost there, Kong said with a smile on the corner of his mouth. At first Air's battle with him was always pouring haki into the slaying demon to attack. But in the last few rounds of attacks, air just covered the surface of the demon slayer with a layer of haki. He didn't let the slayer devour his haki and increase the power of swordsmanship. This also convinced Kong that there was not much left of air's haki. I don't think so, air said indifferently. Although haki is about to run out, he still has a lot of stamina. Be brave. Without haki, you wouldn't be able to withstand my attack. 35 Kong snorted coldly. Haki is the new world, the most practical and the strongest ability. The strength of a person 4.3 has a lot to do with haki. If haki is exhausted, so what if Sora has any strength? Kong didn't tell air any more nonsense. The footsteps stomped on the ground and charged straight towards air. It was enough to move dozens of meters to stabilize the figure. Air's footsteps stomped on the ground, leaving a long gap on the ground. It was another earth-shattering collision, and the two simultaneously released the power of Conqueror's entanglement. Air's face sank, and he rushed towards Kong at the same time. Before the offensive collided, endless waves were set off, sweeping all directions. However, the attack of the two only lasted for about half a minute. Air couldn't bear Kong's strength, and his body suddenly moved backwards. Boom. Chapter 147 The Complete Body. Look, this guy Air is no longer able to resist Kong Admiral's attack. Although this guy Air is a monster enough to defeat Zephyr Vice Admiral, he is still short of hope to defeat Kong Admiral. Yeah, Kong is the Admiral of our naval headquarters, Air is nothing. It seems that today in the Battle of the Valley of the Gods, we will definitely be able to take down the monster Air. Ha ha ha. Today not only is Rox destined to die here, but Air will also die here. In this Battle of the Valley of the Gods, we will be victorious. But we can't relax and kill all these pirates. Countless marine elites noticed Air, were knocked out by Kong and immediately became excited. Air's strength is indeed very strong. After all, Zephyr was defeated in a very short period of time. This terrifying strength made countless marine elites shudder. But, although Air is strong, in their opinion, he is not as strong as Kong. Today's Air has been somewhat unable to resist Kong's attack. I'm afraid it won't be long before you can take it down. With the idea of winning this Battle of the Valley of the Gods, countless marine elites ignited endless fighting spirit. Insanely rushed towards the Rox group. Sure enough, you, whose haki is about to be exhausted, can't do it anymore, Air. At this moment, Kong has an excited look on his face. Kong won't beg you to take down the entire Rox group in the Valley of the Gods. But as long as they can take Air and Rox, then the marine is equivalent to victory. Now, Air's haki will be depleted, and it won't be long before he can take it down. The Rox on the other side are being besieged by Roger, Rayleigh, and Jabba. I believe it won't be long before I can't stand it anymore. Thinking of the Valley of the Gods today, Kong couldn't contain his excitement when he won Rox and Air. It seems that I can no longer use haki to continue attacking, and I have to use other abilities. Air inserted the Demon Slayer back into the scabbard and said to himself. Air's haki is incredibly powerful though. Advertisement. However, the demon sword is like a bottomless pit, constantly devouring his haki. Although the haki who devoured him can display a very terrifying power, the amount absorbed is indeed too much. Now Air needs to restore haki for a while and release other abilities to fight. Are you going to surrender, Air? Even so, you're going to die here today. 99. Kong saw Air insert the Demon Slayer back into the scabbard, and the smile on his face became even more intense. Surrender? Stop kidding, the battle between us has just begun, Kong, Air said calmly. Don't say such stupid things, Air. Your haki is almost exhausted. What ability do you have to fight me now? Kong snorted coldly. Kong didn't say anything nonsense to Air, just wanted to get Air quickly. I saw his footsteps burst, ready to approach Air with the fastest speed and take it down. Although haki is about to run out, but this does not mean that I have no other abilities. Fairy Eye. Air snorted softly, and the next second his pupils changed drastically. The eyeball turned purple, and there were lines around the eyeball. This is the Eye of Sage of Six Paths, the Fairy Eye, also called Rinnegan. Complete Body Susano. Entering the eyes of the immortal, Air did not hesitate at all, and planned to enter the full body Susano. Air has acquired two abilities since he consciously awakened his eyes, the first being Tengai Shinsei. The second one is a full body Susano. Now, because Air's haki is about to be depleted, he can no longer fight with haki. Therefore, he had to release the power of Susano in full at this moment. Dropped with Air's voice, there was a violent force around him. With Air as the center, the endless momentum quickly spread out in all directions. A thick plume of smoke rose directly from the scene. I saw a blue light in the smoke completely wrapping Air. Then the blue light spread out, forming a skeleton. In the next instant, the skeleton was covered with a layer of extremely hard armor, and huge wings grew on the back. Advertisement. As the thick gray smoke slowly dissipated, what appeared in front of everyone was an incomparably tall figure. A full-body Susano that exudes ultimate horror. He has a devil-like face, a long hooked nose, and two samurai swords around his waist. Complete body. Susano's body is incomparably huge. All the people in the Valley of the Gods can clearly see this gigantic warrior. With the aura of a domineering Jedi, with the complete body Susano as the center, it sweeps the entire Valley of the Gods. Look, what is that? No. No, this is Air's ability again. Damn, what a joke. How can this guy have so many monster-like abilities? Damn, is this guy really human? Why does he have so many powerful and outrageous abilities? Seeing the appearance of the complete Susano, countless marine elites were stunned. It's really hard for them to imagine how a person's ability could be so pervert in 737. According to the intelligence their marines have received, Air has unleashed countless terrifying abilities. I thought that it had come to an end, but no one would have imagined that such abilities would be released today. At the beginning of the period, they saw Kong knocking Air into the air, and they were full of confidence in Kong to win. But now, with the release of Air's complete Susano, their confidence in Kong also collapsed a bit. Not because of anything else, but because of the complete Susano released by Air. It's really too scary. Is it your ability again, Air? How much ability are you hiding? Golden Lion raised his brows and stared at Air with a solemn expression. Battle of the Hive Island, Battle of the Holy Land Marijoy, Battle of the Valley of the Gods. The Golden Lion finds that every time a war begins, Air always unleashes different and terrifying abilities. If it weren't for that, Air had indirectly saved the Golden Lion's life on Hive Island. Make Golden Lion feel that he owes Air a favor, otherwise, he now has the idea of letting Air die in the Valley of the Gods. After all, the Golden Lion knows too well how big a threat the future Air is if the Rox group disbands. Chapter 148. John, Ochaku, Silver Axe's Backstab Heart. Mamama. Have your devil fruit abilities developed to this point? Air, I'm really curious, what kind of devil fruit did you eat? Charlotte Linlin glanced at Air. It's not just Charlotte Linlin who was curious about Air's devil fruit. The whole Rox group, or rather, the whole world, was curious. How did Air eat the pervert, out of the ordinary devil fruit? With a gloomy expression on his face, John glanced at Silver Axe beside him and told Ochaku. This guy's abilities are really a headache when you think about it carefully. Later. Do you want Air to die in the Valley of the Gods too? I'm afraid it's not that easy to do. Ochaku shook his head slightly. Let's see if there is a chance to let him die in the Valley of Gods, otherwise, this monster will become our biggest obstacle in the future, Silver Axe also said. Today's Valley of the Gods battle, Rox are already on their dead list. Now, they're planning to include Air on their to-do list as well. After all, they watched Air grow, so it's clear how terrifying Air's talent is. Back then, when Air first joined the Rox, all of them completely ignored Air. But Air was promoted from a regular crew member of the Rox regiment to a cadre in a very short period of time. Just a few months later, they defeated Silver Axe with terrifying strength. This talent can almost be said to have completely crushed them. They knew very well that if Air hadn't fallen in the Valley of the Gods, then in the future, he will definitely grow into an extremely terrifying monster. They even think that Air is likely to be the next Rox. Therefore, the three of them will definitely not allow Air to leave the Valley of the Gods alive. Air, does he still have this ability? I now understand why Air's bounty is so high. Rayleigh glanced in Air's direction with a solemn expression. Air's abilities are numerous and extremely pervert, which makes Rayleigh particularly profound. After all, when Air and Charlotte Linlin came to woo their Rox Pirates, Air unleashed a rather astonishing and terrifying ability. It is conceivable that Air's bounty has increased so rapidly. Advertisement. On the one hand, Air has done something big enough to shock the whole world. On the other hand, it was Air who unleashed an amazing ability. So that's what made his bounty jump from 1.5 billion to 2.5 billion, then jump to 3.5 billion. Every time the increase, it has reached an astonishing 1 billion Bailey. This is what no one has accomplished in this sea. Even Rox has climbed from an unknown pirate to its current status step by step. There has never been a direct increase of 1 billion Baileys after an event. Air's achievements can be said to be unprecedented in the entire pirate world. This era doesn't belong to you anymore, Rox, it belongs to our new generation of pirates. Roger glanced in Air's direction, then put his eyes on Rox and smiled. The complete Susano released by Air, even if it is far apart. Roger can feel a huge sense of oppression. Air's combat power has indeed been recognized by him. And as Roger said, this era no longer belongs to Rox, but to him and Air's monsters. Ha ha ha. It doesn't belong to me, what a joke, this era is called Rox. Rox laughed horribly. The words fell, and the Rox launched an almost frantic attack on the Roger regiment again. The battle only took a moment, and nearly half of the pirates in Roger's regiment were all beheaded by Rox. The scene, a sea of corpses and blood, center of the battlefield. Damn air. Kong looked at Susano, which was as huge as a mountain in front of him, and his expression was extremely ferocious. I thought that Air's haki was about to be exhausted, and there was no other way. But he never imagined that Air would unleash such astonishing abilities with his backhand. Looking at the perfect Susano in front of him, Kong was under a lot of pressure. Advertisement at this point Air was standing on the head of the full-body Susano. Condescendingly stared at Kong's figure, folded his arms in front of his chest, and said lightly, "Now, do you still think you can take me down, Kong? Unleashing such abilities will also consume a lot of your physical strength. Air, how long can you maintain this form?" Kong said with a gloomy expression. "It's enough to beat you," Air said calmly. Unleashing the complete Susano is indeed a great drain on Air's stamina. But Air has great confidence before he runs out of energy. Completely eliminate Kong with the power of the full-body Susano. Then try it. After wrapping a layer of haki around his fist, Kong snorted coldly. Although during the battle with Air, he also used haki's power all the time. However, because he has a very strong combat experience, he is very skilled in the use of haki. The Grandmaster attacks with the least amount of haki consumed. Plus, he didn't keep pouring a lot of haki into the fight like Air did. So now Kong, haki still has a lot left, and of course physical strength. You Marines, just like, Jiao Hao Jiao, to be brave. The words fell, and Air directly manipulated Susano's fist and slammed into Kong. He poured all the strength of his whole body into this punch, and slammed it towards Susano's fist. Boom! The dense dark clouds in the sky were directly shaken by the offensive of the two to form a vortex. It even set off endless coercion on Kong's body, but he didn't choose to back down. His fists clenched his arms and blue veins appeared. The fist almost filled Kong's entire line of sight, and the huge sense of oppression made him stand upside down. Complete body Susano's incomparably huge fist cut through the space and heard a violent explosion sound. Endless gravel flew horizontally into the air, and the ground broke apart inch by inch. The collision of the fists set off an air current that swept the entire Valley of the Gods, and the ripples visible to the naked eye destroyed everything around them. Chapter 149. A knife runs through the Valley of God. Please complete the order. Ka. The ground beneath Kong's feet collapsed directly, and countless rifts appeared. The ground level sank to a depth of more than 10 meters. Full-body Susano's fist, almost completely pressing Kong under it. The terror of the power can be seen in Amadora. Air. Accompanied by the big pit, there was a roar. A terrifying force hit the full-body Susano's fist, and it bounced straight away. And Kong, also taking advantage of this time, jumped out of the pit. However, it can be seen that at this time, Kong's forehead was startled with cold sweat. Although it succeeded in deflecting Susano's fist. But only he knows how difficult it is. Tisk, as expected of the highest combat power of naval headquarters, even a full-body Susano can't take you down directly. Air raised his brows slightly, staring at Kong. The complete body of Susano's powerful, Mu Yang questioned, can split mountains and rocks and destroy everything. However, the current Air has a lot of weak hard power after all. So even if the full-body Susano is released, it can have the upper hand in the confrontation with Kong 737. But if you want to win it, there is still a lot of difficulty and it will take a lot of time. After all, Air had only been in this world for a while. And Kong, but has been practicing for decades. It's not that easy to beat me, Air, Kong growled. Really? 99. Air gave Kong a cold look. Then he manipulated the full-body Susano and took out the two giant samurai swords on both sides of his waist. The power of these two knives is extremely terrifying, enough to give Susano the power to destroy the world. A full-body Susano holding two giant katana swords. The dangerous aura emanating from his body is even more intense. A sense of terrifying oppression enveloped Kong. Then try it out. How long can you hold on to me, Kong? 35. Advertisement. Air manipulated the full-body Susano and slashed at Kong with two giant katana swords. Boom. A sound shook the sky, destroying the entire Valley of the Gods beside the trembling sound of destroying the earth. Ka. It can be seen, added, that under the sword of the samurai sword, there are two huge rifts that spread hundreds of meters away. The power of a single blade caused huge damage to the Valley of the Gods, causing the entire island to tremble. The terrifying momentum created by the two knives slashed directly sent countless marine elites flying out. This power is too terrifying. This guy's knife almost slashed through the Valley of the Gods. Is it really a power that humans can possess? Damn, this guy is not a human at all, but a real monster. 55. Damn it, I didn't get rid of air in the early years. I didn't expect him to grow to such an amazing level. How'd I feel? Even Kong Admiral may not be his opponent. Numerous marine elites looked at the great rift valley cut by Susano's two knives. Suddenly, a cold sweat broke out, and the hairs all over his body stood upside down, and he couldn't stop shaking. They couldn't imagine how tragically they would die if these two knives slashed at them. Similarly, they are not too confident about Kong's strength at this time. Did you escape? Air noted that the full-body Susano's two knives caused massive damage though. But it didn't cut on Kong's body, but was dodged by him. Air. The next second, a voice came from behind Air. I saw Kong use the power of moonwalk to walk in the air. At this point, it has come to the back of the head of the full-body Susano. Armored and Conqueror's two powers were wrapped around his fist, and amazing power was displayed from his fist. Boom! Kong used all his strength to smash his fist on Susano. Although, Susano has a very strong defense, but Kong's armament haki has the power to destroy from within. In addition to Conqueror's haki, it has extremely strong destructive power. Advertisement: these two hakis fused into his iron fists, and directly tore apart Susano's head. Yes. Yes, Kong Admiral. Kong Admiral just dodged Air's attack, and now he has successfully attacked Air. Ha ha ha. Who said just now that Kong Admiral may not be Air's opponent? Now it seems that the outcome has been decided. Sure enough, compared to Air, our Kong Admiral is the strongest man. See Kong smashing Susano's head with a punch. Countless marine elites boiled directly at this moment. But in the next second, the smiles on their faces gradually condensed and disappeared, replaced by panic and despair. How? How is it possible? Recovered? What a joke! The head that was destroyed by Kong Admiral was directly restored. It can be seen that there are large cracks on the head of the complete body Susano. But in less than a second, the crack was restored to its original state. As if nothing happened. Kong, who was walking in the air, saw this scene, and his face changed greatly. Can it still recover? 35. He also thought that the success of this sneak attack had already given him the chance to win. But I didn't expect that Susano's head injury was completely restored in an instant. The power of the fist is pretty good, but unfortunately it didn't completely destroy the head. Air glanced at Kong contemptuously. If the power of Kong's fist can be stronger again, directly smashed his entire body Susano's head, then Kong can directly enter the forehead of the full body Susano and start a close fight with him. In this way, Air will definitely lose. After all, Air has physical strength, but haki is almost exhausted. But unfortunately, the power of Kong's fist is still a lot worse. This allowed Air to immediately recover from Susano's head injury. It has to be said that Marine Admiral is worthy of the highest combat power of naval headquarters. Even when Air enters the state of full-body Susano, he cannot let go. Air manipulated the full-body Susano and slashed at Kong with a katana. Because of Kong at this time, it is in mid-air. The position that can be avoided has long been captured by Air. Chapter 150 Situation Reversal, Seriously Injured Rox. Shish. The blade rubbed against the space, making a violent roaring sound, like a bolt of lightning passing through the air. The sharp-edged, sword shi that carries endless power is forced directly from the blade of the perfect Susano. A sword shi that was unmatched in the world struck in an instant and slashed towards Kong. Oops. Kong's pupils shrank violently, although he really wanted to avoid the sword energy attacked by Air. But right now he's in the middle of the sky. This slash can almost be said to block his retreat, making him unavoidable. Kong hurriedly covered his entire body with armament haki, and then put his arms in front of him, trying to defend against this attack from Air. Kong's body, after touching the sword energy, like a meteor, it fell directly backwards, flying hundreds of meters away. Boom boom. It was accompanied by a loud noise that shook the entire Valley of the Gods. Kong's body hit the ground heavily, and a huge deep crater appeared in that area, and thick gray smoke was wafting upwards. The full power of Susano can be seen in different Madara. As the thick gray smoke in the giant pit slowly dissipated, Kong could be seen standing up covered in blood. Although at critical moments, armament haki is covered all over the body. But the power of the full body Susano is too strong, and Kong suffered a lot of injuries. Is it just a move like this, Air? Kong clenched his fists and said coldly. When the words fell, Kong quickly charged towards Air. His injuries were not minor, but it wasn't enough to make him lose his mobility. Really a head-scratching enemy. Air frowned slightly. I have to say that since crossing into this world, this is the first time he has fought for such a long time. Kong's strength really surprised Air. After all, right now he is completely Susano. Even so, it is still impossible to win Kong in a short period of time. Advertisement: Kong is worthy of being the top martial artist in naval headquarters. Conqueror's haki has already cultivated to the advanced level. Combat experience is also very rich. Even if he resisted the full-body Susano's blow, Kong still stood tall and never fell. However, Air didn't think too much, then manipulated Susano, and rushed towards Kong quickly. He also wanted to get rid of the troublesome opponent Kong as soon as possible. The two fought again. After a while, this battle of the Valley of the Gods, whether it was Marine or the Rox Regiment, all suffered heavy losses. The ordinary crew members of the Rox Regiment, as well as ordinary cadres, were killed a lot. Similarly, the elite soldiers on Marine's side also lost more than 70% of their troops. The scene can be described as a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Rox, Roger growled. The next second, he waved Ace, the supreme sword in his hand, and slashed towards Rox's body. Shish. A ferocious knife light flashed, and a large incision was directly cut in Rox's abdomen. The blood was sprayed continuously, dyeing his clothes bright red. Tread. Tread. Rox took 2.5 steps back and knelt on the ground, holding the wound in his abdomen, his expression a little grim. He lost a lot of stamina because he had previously dealt with the Marshal of Naval Headquarters. Now, under the siege of the entire Roger Regiment, the battle has been bloody for so long. At this point Rox's physical strength, as well as haki, is almost exhausted. Now being hit hard by Roger, Rox is already seriously injured. "You're the first Rox to survive under our entire Roger Regiment for so long," Rayleigh gasped and said solemnly. Roger, Rayleigh, Jabba, these three are not weak. When the three of them join forces, there are hardly many people in this world who are their opponents. Not because of other things, but because of the strength of the three people, not only monsters, but also extremely tacit understanding. And this time against Rox, the three of them not only maintained a tacit cooperation all the time. Advertisement: there are countless Roger crew members, help them fight against the Rox together. Even they all thought that this battle would end soon. But I didn't expect that Rox killed more than 60% of the crew of their Roger Regiment. 0. Ask for flowers, and the three of them also carry some injuries. The horror of Rox's strength, it can be said, has made Rayleigh deeply in his mind. "If you fight alone, I believe that everyone in our Roger Regiment will be crushed by you, but to deal with a man like you, we can only go together. Don't say we are despicable, after all. You are a monster." Jabba wiped the sweat from his forehead, a trace of killing intent flashed in his eyes, and stared at Rox. To be honest, the strength of Rox really shocked Jabba. If it weren't for the fact that Rox had previously dealt with Marine Marshal Brownie, it consumed a lot of stamina. Otherwise, even if their entire Roger Regiment teamed up against the Rox, I believe it can be dragged by Rox for a while. "That's the strength of your Roger Regiment. It's pathetic," Rox said with a hideous smile on the corner of his mouth. "Even if he is seriously injured, even if haki and physical strength are about to be exhausted." But at this time, there was still not a trace of fear hanging on Rox's face. "Show your dominance. But you're still about to fall under the siege of our Roger Regiment, aren't you, Rox?" Rayleigh sneered. "Do you want to continue supporting Rox? You should also know very well that you have no chance of winning, and the era that belongs to you has completely passed." Roger's eyes were full of killing intent, staring at Rox, and said solemnly. "It's ridiculous, Lousy hasn't fallen yet," Rox said grimly. "It's up to the three of them to give the Rox one last ride, beg." Rox is physically overwhelmed though. But Rox never wanted to admit defeat. Even if he died, he would fight to the last minute. "You go back first." Now Rox is seriously wounded and can no longer withstand their many attacks. Roger didn't want to see the crew die anymore, so let them back off. They've lost too many crew members this time against the Rox. The words fell, and Rox attacked Roger, Rayleigh, and Jabba again. Roger quickly ordered to the crew behind him.